The Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, as well as Oilers Nation Facebook, YouTube, and X. The Jason Gregor Show brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Of course, you can use code word Gregor50, get a $50 free play with your deposit, or maybe sports betting's not your thing. You got the Lotto Max tonight, an estimated $10 million. Get your ticket at playalberta.ca. Remember to use your game sense. Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, and Liam Pease with you here at the EWEL Studios in West Edmonton Mall. We will have Wanye Gretz dropping by shortly. We got lots to get to on the show today, and not that much time because it is an abbreviated edition of this show. We've got pregame coverage for you with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson getting going at 5 o'clock. Of course, the Edmonton Oilers in St. Louis taking on the St. Louis Blues, 24-25-5, currently sitting 5th in the Central Division. I think maybe they had hoped for higher standards. It's not quite going their way, but plenty of time left in the schedule. Maybe they turn things around. They've already had Brandon Saad quit on the team, essentially. Took the termination, took his bags to Vegas, where he's going to play for the Vegas Golden Knights. And they always get to see Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg in action. Dylan Holloway been quite good this season. 16 goals, 22 helpers for 38 points. That's good for second on the Blues, only behind Jordan Kyrou at 22 goals, 21 points, 43 helpers. Philip Broberg, 3 goals, 12 minutes, 15 assists. He only had 1 assist in the month of January, but he's playing 20 minutes a night. So Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway having some success in St. Louis, but you got to think the Oilers maybe want to make them pay once again when they meet just after 6 o'clock. On the show today, we'll talk Oilers, of course, with Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet, get his thoughts on the game, as well as the game tomorrow in Chicago. Back-to-back games, back-to-back nights, probably a swap in goalies. Can John Klingberg play in both games? I don't know. He might not play tonight. If you base the lines off practice yesterday, it was Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse Stetcher, and Kulak Emberson. So we'll have to see what happens. Heard coach speak earlier today. They didn't really touch on it. So we'll have to dabble, see if anyone puts it out there, maybe closer to puck drop. We'll have the football report at 2:40. Declan and I will chat some NFL and CFL. Lots going on there. At 3 o'clock, we'll hopefully hear from Terry Ryan. If not, Wanye Gretz will be by. Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM will join us to take a look around the NHL. A few storylines. Quinn Hughes not going to play tonight against the Colorado Avalanche. What's going on in Buffalo? Tage Thompson gets rocked, and nothing happens. They had a team meeting today. They canceled practice and had this discussion. That's a bad sign. And we've seen that in Edmonton before where, we've kind of had some questions about it. I guess the difference between it happening in Edmonton and in Buffalo's the worst team in hockey. They got nothing to lose. They were up 4-2 in the game. Tage Thompson takes a shot up high from Nosen, and nothing happens. Not good. We're going to talk to Cam Jansson, former NHLer, obviously covers the St. Louis Blues, about the Blues, but I also want to get his thoughts on that as well, because that was a little bit weird. I know some players on the Buffalo Sabres had said, I wish I was on the ice. Well, there's 4 other guys out there. 5 if you want to count the goalie. Goalie's not going to do anything, but someone has to at least get in the face of Nose. And we'll hear from Jason Strudwick as well at 4:20, and 5 questions before we hand things over to Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson for pregame. The text line 1-833-401-1440. You can also email me if you'd like, Connor at sports1440.ca, or get on the YouTube and Facebook chat. Sometimes it gets a little feisty in there. So if you want to go hop on that, check it out. Head over to Oilers Nation, Facebook, YouTube, or X. Declan, good afternoon. How's your day going so far?
Yeah, going pretty well. Obviously, great time on Unload Tide show, as it always is, and excited to be here. One final day in your chair before we switch things up. So, gonna take it all in, appreciate it while I can, and then back to chalk tomorrow.
End of an era. Yeah, well, I'll slide down a chair when Gregor returns from his vacation. For those who might have missed it, hi, my name is. You guys do it every Tuesday, 1:40 with Donovan Paulson. Now, who was it today?
Today it was Matthias Janmark.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
First time I had gone in the Oilers direction. Thought I had a pretty good set list of clues there, and only 2 people got it on the text line. Donovan did get it for the squad here on clue 7. It's always 7 clues for anyone who doesn't know. So just at the 11th hour. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good one. I'm not going to lie.
Got it in there. All right. Well, it's a fun segment. Sometimes it's a little tough, especially like live on air. Like there's a little bit of panic that sets in, but very popular segment. And you can go listen to that if you'd like. It'll be up on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. The game tonight, the St. Louis Blues loses to 4 straight before beating Utah 2-1 on Sunday. That was a big performance by Jordan Binnington. He had 24 saves on 25 shots. Not too shabby. They won 2-1. As I mentioned, though, on the season, not the best. 24, 25, and 5 for the Edmonton Oilers. going based off what we saw at practice yesterday, you got Draisaitl, McDavid, and Perry. That's the 7th time that Draisaitl and McDavid have started on a line together to kick things off. So, we see it in emergency situations, but to start the game, it's only been the 7th time. You got Arvidsson, Nugent, Hyman. And, I don't mind that at all. Like, I kind of like switching things up a little bit. I think Nugent's been okay playing in the second or third line center role. So why not roll with it? Skinner, Henrique, Kapanen back to St. Louis. Maybe a revenge game in this one for Kasperi. Then you got Podkolzin, Janmark, and Brown. It looks like no Philp coming out of the lineup. Like I said, on the back end. Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Stetcher, Kulak, Emberson. We assume Stuart Skinner gets the nod to bounce back. I think that's the right decision. Then you go with Calvin Pickard tomorrow. We're taking on the Blackhawks, and there you go. Hopefully they find a way to get 4 points. Hey, Connor, you're the oldest hand in the room. Good job encouraging Declan to look around and soak it in while he can. That was Declan. That was your own wise words. That wasn't even me.
Yeah, man. I'm full of philosophical quotes and full of introspective thoughts, and I thought I would share them with everyone. I guess I don't know.
Take it all in. Yeah, it's good. We got the Super Bowl coming up this weekend as well, Declan. We're only 5 days away. Everyone's hyping up the Kansas City Chiefs as they usually do.
I can't lie, man. This might be the least excited I've ever been for a Super Bowl.
Why do you I get the Kansas City Chiefs hate. Why do people hate the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it the fan base? Is it
I think the fan base? I think the fan base is a huge part of it. I think a tiny part is. I think the fan base is a huge part. I think Nick Sirianni being more or less a cornball is part of it as well. But I honestly think a big part of it is that a lot of people don't truly view Jalen Hurts as an elite quarterback. And he's now obviously in his 2nd Super Bowl with a chance to win a Super Bowl. And that inevitably puts him in elite quarterback conversations. And I just think some people have an issue with him being there and feel he's maybe, I think he's a very good quarterback. I'm sure most people feel he's a very good quarterback, but people also probably feel he's a bit more of a product of the system and of the team. And I just think they're hesitant to put him in those convos, which, like I said, going to have to do because he's made it 2nd. And if he wins one, I mean, it's no question we put him in those combos.
2 and 3 years. And I mean, yeah, he's not in the Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow category, I would say. Could he be in that next conversation? I'd say absolutely. I mean, hey, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, gets the job done. And you know what, Eagles fans, even if people say he's not in that category, who cares? He's getting it as Super Bowls. You have a chance here. And you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield. To me, that's going to be the biggest X factor in this game. There's a lot of them, like Chris Jones, Jalen Carter. Obviously, pick one of the Kansas City Chiefs receivers that can be an absolute game breaker. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. But I think Saquon Barkley, he's going to keep that defensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs on their toes. They showed it. They can run the ball outside like they did against the Commanders. I said it with Kevin Karius. That's my goal. I got to get Chris Jones out of the lineup as much as possible. Anytime we can stretch it outside and make the big man run, and then he needs a little breather on the sideline, I'm trying to set that one up. Lamar, it's Triple C in a truck. I knew it was coming. Eagles have the 2 best DBs in the game right now. Also says Lamar and Josh Allen haven't even been to a Super Bowl, and they haven't beat Hurts ever. Yeah, well, I mean, hey, that's team success. The Eagles haven't had to go through the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. It's a fact. The Chiefs have just been that good, and they make it tough. 2 best DBs in the game right now. Yeah, you're not a rookie right now. You're at the Super Bowl, your rookie status is gone. Rookie status disappears, in my opinion, after 3 months. Then all of a sudden, you're a pro. But I'm going to say Tar Heap's still pretty good. Had a couple picks. RBS says, I bet if you put Justin Fields in that Philly system, you see a similar result to Hurts. That could be something. Does Declan have an NBA lock for tonight? From K-Dub. Declan, you got a lock in the association this evening?
I'm not loving the lines as far as locks go. If I had to pick one, I would probably say Knicks -5.5 on the road versus the Raptors, just because I think the Knicks are that much better than the Raptors. But you look around the league, I don't love any of them. Dallas and Philly is going to kick off the action. I'm looking at the schedule now. Boston and Cleveland. That's a tough one. Lakers and Clippers. That line's 8.5 for the Clippers. Don't love that. Then Indiana, Portland. I don't love any of them, but if I had to say, and again, I don't want this to be misquoted. I'm not going to say it's a lock, but the one I like the most, Knicks -5.5. And you know what? Throw a little on the over in the Boston Cleveland game.
Do you have to do you have to do spread in your locks here?
I don't think I have. I've never given them. This is kind of a new thing, but I'm just choose. Knicks money line would be my lock if I had to have a lock.
The old Simpsons quote where the guy's got a big lock, the lock of the night. Yeah, Knicks with the spread. I'm sorry, Toronto Raptors. I know they played a little bit better, but can't believe in them. Keep those texts rolling in. 1-833-401-1440. JR in Red Deer says, Low Tide is part of that fan base, Connor. Throwing even more shade Low Tide's way with a laughing emoji. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, I think I was misquoted because I didn't say Low Tide at all until the final segment of the show, but somebody said I was slandering him. Triple C in a Truck says, Fields can't read defenses like Jalen Hurts does. He does it all day. I mean, you know what? Maybe. I like Justin Fields. I think he's a really good player as well. And being not in that Chicago Bears system for the first couple of years probably would have helped him out a lot. You saw him playing with the Steelers. He was doing fine. They just wanted to go with Russell Wilson. But it's never going to happen because Jalen is going to be running that offense for a long time in Philadelphia.
Why? What'd the Bears do?
Exactly. That's it. What did the Bears do? Suck? Bring in Matt Nagy? Eberflus? Not good. Entourage from Calgary says, about time they put Arvidsson, Hyman, and Nuge together. They looked great in their brief time in the preseason. Puzzled it took so long to get another shot, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, that's a line I really like on paper. I think that could do some damage. And, you got a couple guys tenacious in Arvidsson and Hyman, can win puck battles. Hopefully Nuge can go to the right spot. Maybe get in the slot there, that quick wrist shot, low blocker side. I don't hate it. And, Draisaitl, McDavid, Perry, anytime you get a chance to put the big dogs together. Like we said, only the 7th time on the season. You're going to hear the narrative that they, played together so much. It's power play and emergencies, essentially. A lot of the time, Draisaitl's doing what he's been doing this year on his own. But yeah, I mean, I like it. Skinner and Reed, Kapanen, I think that is a chance to do something. Kapanen might be buzzing out there, playing one of his former teams. The fourth line, Podkolzin and Jan-Mark Brown. Good. I think, just getting Matthias Ekholm back onto the lineup, that's massive to me. Obviously, what he does 5-on-5 is huge. Point producer there, but on the PK, 2 penalty kill goals allowed against the Leafs on Saturday night. I should just call it shorthanded. Sounds a little bit better. Massive to have Matthias Ekholm back out there. Oh, Triple C in a Truck taking some slander. Joey says, most annoying homer ever with a laughing emoji. So said in fun. It's said in fun. I like to talk Eagles because I know Triple C in a Truck is listening, and I know he's going to pop off there. I'm like, you know what? I don't get the dislike for the Eagles. I get it for the Chiefs. So, I mean, I could just be such a Chiefs hater that I'm blinded by anything Philadelphia Eagles fans might have done. But overall, yeah, I'm okay with it. No, Connor, you did encourage him. He went on and on about his feelings, and then you said, good job. Declan. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I do. You got to lift people up, Tiger. A high tide raises all boats. But I just kind of agreed with you, Declan.
Mm-hmm. Well, no one's lifted me up more than you, so.
They say that about me.
You know what? That probably sounded sarcastic. I did not mean it to be at all. I was serious when I was saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was genuine.
I just want everyone else to know as well that it in fact was.
Jalen Hurts, 5 years in the league for offensive coordinators. Jalen Hurts, 5 years in the league for offensive coordinators. I'm assuming that was supposed to be 5 different coordinators each year. He's learning a new system every year. Wow, he's making it work.
It's kind of all Sirianni's system though. Like I know Sirianni brings in the coordinators, but he is sometimes it is that, but with Sirianni, like it's his system.
Yeah, I mean he was Nick Sirianni. He was the Chargers receivers coach, and they moved on from I forget it. There's been too many, but he became the OC. He was great with Phillip Rivers and maybe Justin Herbert. I'm not exactly sure, but I like Nick Sirianni as an offensive mind. Kind of has some cringy things, but as a head coach, hey, just take the wins. Bud Baker says, hey, Connor, are you a Chiefs hater because of the NFL script of giving them every call they can, or what's the reason? Oh, I'm just sick of them beating my team all the time. I don't like dynasties. Their fans get too cocky. You got young kids around this mall wearing Kansas City Chiefs hats looking down at me because I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know. They just win a lot. That's all it is. It's based out of jealousy. I was the same way with the New England Patriots. I hated Brady, wanted them to move on, figure it out. As time has gone on, like I've grown to respect them. And I respect the Kansas City Chiefs. What they've done has been fantastic. But the NFL script, I don't know. I know the referees put out some sort of statement today saying we're not helping the Chiefs. They do seem to get a lot of calls. But I've said on the program before, 31 fan bases hate the Chiefs. So every time they get a call, we just blow it into out of proportion. We make a huge deal about it. you give me any Chargers game. I've brought it up before. The Texans-Chargers game, I thought there were some really bad calls that favor the Texans. Brandon Douglas, our resident Texans fan, probably could reverse it on me and see where there's calls that benefited the Chargers. It happens in every football game. The refs are always going to make mistakes. There's always going to be questionable calls. When it happens to the Chiefs, we all just hop on and really publicize it. Even though, I will say, I thought Josh Allen got the first down. I really did. I thought Dalton Kincaid had the first down as well. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, say hello. We got the poll question tonight, and you can answer that on our text line, 1-833-401-1440. Oilers versus St. Louis. What's going to happen? Oilers win big. Oilers win close. St. Louis wins close, or St. Louis wins big. I'm going to say Oilers win big. Big road dub for the Oilers tonight in St. Louis. Also, make sure you hit that like button. Husks texting in, CH, as the Duke said, if everyone is so sure that the Chiefs get all the calls, then bet the bank on them. Husks. I can't do it. I'm taking the Eagles in this one. I could be way off, but I don't know. Jalen Carter, stud. They got some great players in the back end. The offensive and defensive line, solid. Jalen Carter, animal. Saquon Barkley's going to make plays. We're going to tire out that defense. Now I'm an Eagles fan all of a sudden. We're going to set up the play action pass. We're going to hit some deep shots. We're going to really attack the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Declan, am I way out to left field here?
Well, Connor, though, I just, in response to that text talking about Vegas and the bet, this was the first year since 2015 that the NFL took a loss on the season, like $2 million bath they took. So I wonder why that might be, right? Like betting on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
First time losing since in 10 years? Like, I don't know. It kind of seems like it goes hand in hand to me. So
yeah, I saw that actually. Like in December, was it, or December, January? Vegas didn't have a good month in the NFL. I don't know. I'm just hoping. I hope I could just will it into existence. I mean, I never thought the Giants would beat the Patriots. They got the job done. It can happen. But yeah, we'll see what's happening. We don't have too many Chiefs fans that actually listen to the station, or they don't text in. Maybe they're kind of the quiet minority here. No, and I say that one comes in. The Chiefs are going to rope-a-dope the Eagles team. I can see the tears from Mike. And you know what? When they won last year, I wasn't even mad. I just turned off the NFL Network, avoided my cell phone, let the Chiefs have fun. I know there's a couple of really good Chiefs fans. I guess Gregor's son, he's been a fan. My buddy Ian, longtime Chiefs fan, he was there the Trent Green days back in 2005. We had the rivalry going in the hallways of Ross Shepherd High School. He's been through it all. So there's a few people that I don't mind. I'm happy for them getting a chance to win. But yeah, overall, let's just have something different. I had to live through the Colts, Steelers, and Patriots going every stupid year for a 2-decade span. Now it's the Chiefs. I just want a different team. Give me the Ravens, the Jags, the Bills. Anyone outside of those 4 franchises would be cool. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk some Oilers with Mark Spector of Rogers Sports. And also on the show today, Dave McCarthy. We got Cam Jansson, Jason Strudwick. 5 questions before we hand things over to Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson for pre-game coverage. But up next, the Spec Report with Mark Spector. You're watching the Jason Gregor Show on Oilers Nation Facebook, YouTube, and X, or listening on Sports 1440, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
At Leading Edge Physio,
It's 1440. Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, Liam P. sitting in. Jason back tomorrow. Show brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Use code word Gregor50 with a deposit. You can get a $50 free play. Remember, use your game sense. GameSenseAB.ca. Stay within your limits. The text line 1-833-401-1440. The game day edition of the Jason Gregor Show is the Oilers in St. Louis set to take on the Blues tonight. Puck drop 6 o'clock. We'll be done at 5, handing things over to Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson for pre-game coverage. Right now, though, let's get to the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. They specialize in underground infrastructure. They make life more enjoyable with running water and indoor plumbing. The grinders of the construction industry, GS Construction. Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet joins us now. Spec, good afternoon. How you doing?
Oh, doing pretty good for a minus 27 or whatever we got going here in the Big E. It's getting old, this weather, Connor. Getting a little bit old, I got to say, even as a local.
I'm with you. Those people taking the vacations, the Gregors, the Carries of the world, they had it right. It's a good time to get out. Yeah, Gregor's going to be back tomorrow. I feel for him. It's going to be quite the change on the thermometer, I think.
Yeah, I don't feel for him one bit, but we'll be happy to have him back. How about that?
Yeah. I guess he had 10 days of nice climate. He's probably pretty good. Spec, the Oilers in action tonight. I do want to ask you about your article yesterday. You got a chance to sit down with Paul Coffey, a legend in his own right now, coaching the blue line for the Edmonton Oilers. You talked about Bouchard. But anything else come out of that conversation with Paul Coffey?
I mean, not really. That's why I talked to him was about Bouchard, and he's. Bouchard is really a project for him. He was Bouchard once, right? Back before likely you were born, Paul Coffey was a young, offensive guy who loved having the puck in the stick and playing on the other side of the center ice line, but played on a team that had aspirations of winning Stanley Cups. And, we all know when they got to those big games, they had to learn how to win games where they only let 2 in, not 5. It was a little different back then. But Paul Coffey had to take his offensive game and learn how to stack it on top of a responsible defensive game when need be. I'm not saying every period of every game of his life, but when push came to shove, you need to learn how to play some defense. And really, that's where Bouchard is. We kind of thought we were there after watching him last year, but so far we're 50 games in here, and there's probably still some work to get done at his own end, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, the lapses certainly seem to be there, popping up every once in a while. So, and I feel like this is kind of tough maybe for some coaches that are superstars, because a lot of the times it maybe came natural to them. But for, like you said, for Paul Coffey, he was an offensive guy, probably had to make that adjustment in his game. Why do you think Paul Coffey has been able to relate to so many of these younger players? And, even going back to last year, we saw the strides that a guy like Vinny Desharnais took.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You know what? And I color me wrong. Like, I never thought that Koff would have the sort of patience to do what an assistant coach does. And I think the Oilers have been really smart. Like, Mark Stewart does a lot of the grindy assistant coach video stuff that probably Paul Coffey wouldn't be as great at. And they freed Paul Coffey up to coach defensemen. And look at the effect. Like, he's coached the hell out of Nurse here. And he's finally got the most out of Darnell Nurse. And, you're right. He took a guy like Desharnais, who was, pretty useful at Edmonton last year. Let's face it. He played like 80 games and most of 3 rounds of the playoffs before Broberg took his gig. But I'll tell you what, Desharnais never came close to that level in Vancouver this year. They never got out of Desharnais in Vancouver what Edmonton did a year ago. And you can thank Coffey for a lot of that. So, I guess when you're a player in the NHL and Paul Coffey's coaching you, one thing you can't say is, you never did it, because he did it at a Norris Trophy level. So, I think the proof's in the pudding. Like, I think the defense since he's been here has been good, and individual players have really improved under his tutelage. And to me, Bouchard, Bouchard got himself to a level last year that was unbelievably high for a long, consistent period of time. I thought that he'd be there for the rest of his career, and now it's not. So he's got to find his way back up there again.
Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Now, take me to school here. Was Coffey getting the criticism that a Bouchard would get when he was younger in his career?
Oh yeah, for sure he was. Because in the end, like, Yes, he was. Of course it's awesome when he would get, 90 or 100 points. And when he had the puck, there was no criticism whatsoever when you're in the other end. But I think we lose today. And don't take this as, a lot of people online, they don't even read your piece. They just think, oh, you're running Bouchard out of town. No, you're not. I'm telling you, Bouchard is one of their very, very best players. And in order for this team to win a Stanley Cup, they need him to play at his very, very best level. He can't play kind of at his best. He can't give you a Toronto game where he was unbelievably awesome for the last 40 minutes. And in the first period, he just gave the puck away about 7 times, right? You're allowed to expect more from a possibly great player. You're allowed to say, be great. Don't be sort of kind of great some of the time. Bouchard's got it, man. He's one of the best defensemen offensively in the National Hockey League. And what happened for my money today, Connor, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I think we've come to be evaluating defensemen based on puck possession, based on how many points they get, how many points they're on the ice for, right? All the offensive metrics. And we just overlooked the fact that a guy walks up from behind his net and feeds a pizza into the slot and it's going the other way. That, the guy's a defenseman. He's got to play well without the puck. He's got to not give up chances. And I'll hold any defenseman to account on that, and I don't think I'm wrong.
No, and I mean, sometimes glassing out is fine. You might lose possession. That's okay. Live to fight another day and don't force it up the middle. I will say, going back to my time coaching, there's players you're harder on. It's because you expect and know they have so much more time, right? And that's just the way it is. Some kids can't do much more. You're fine. Hey, you're doing your best. That's okay. But when you got some kid that has untapped potential, you got to push it a little harder to try to get that. And one more follow-up thing, I'm just rambling here. Sometimes people in the Twitter age, we want, 240 characters or less. They read the headline and they just go with it.
Yeah.
Click the link, read the article. Your article last night had the quotes directly from Paul Coffey. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. Expect the Oilers on the road tonight in St. Louis, taking on the Blues. You mentioned Philip Broberg there. Obviously, Dylan Holloway going to be there as well. Coach talks about it before the game. He's going to be having Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on that top line once again with Corey Perry. This is only the 7th time, I believe, that they've started a game playing together. What do you like about having those two? And, I guess it's probably not a long-term plan for success, but here and there, just loading up that top line.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It gives the Oilers a different look. The key to that scenario is that somebody else has to put together a game. You can't be as great as they can be. Being a one-line team is never the answer. Somebody underneath has to say, okay, you know what, we're going to produce too. Nugent Hopkins' line has to say, they got to kick in a goal. The third line has to kick in a goal. Someone on the blue line. My only fear of having 97 to 29 together is that the rest of the team puts the feet up and goes, those guys will take care of the offense for us. And I know they don't do that, but it often turns out that way. So, we know that Knoblauch will move off of this in a period if he doesn't like what it looks like. But I'd say to you, Connor McDavid's had the puck a lot, but hasn't played that great with the puck his last few games. I think he's due to break out. Maybe this road trip's the time.
Yeah, maybe he sees a 6 in blue and wants to take advantage of his old teammate, Philip Broberg, who, offensively last month wasn't very good, only had 1 assist, but playing 20 minutes tonight for the Blues. I'm sure they're quite happy about that. You look at the second line here. On paper, I do like it with RNH, Hyman, and Arvidsson. You have, if you get the tenacity out of Arvidsson and Hyman, could be a tough line to go up against.
Yeah, that's a tough team to possess the puck against, or a tough line, because they'll take it away from you. Right. Nugent Hopkins is very cerebral. He's a very smart player. We like the way he plays here in Edmonton for sure. But the tenacity of Arvidsson and Hyman, it could work. I don't mind that line. And there's some finish there too, obviously. So, is this the first time we've seen those three together? I'm not sure it's not. You can't say Knoblauch doesn't put his lines in the blender, man. He's tried every combination out this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, it sure seems like it. We had a texter saying that he remembers this line from the preseason, thought they were great, was waiting to see it in the regular season. So we'll see it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see if it carries over. Maybe something there. From what I've seen, unconfirmed, but Stuart Skinner looks like he'll get the nod tonight. You go with Pickard, tomorrow in Chicago. Is that the way you'd go with it?
Yeah. I mean, you're going one after the other. I think Stuart Skinner take a bounce back game. He was like the rest of the team. He wasn't good enough in the first period, and then he was pretty good the rest of the way, but it wasn't enough against Toronto. So I'd want Skinner in my net right away again, because his record in games after he loses is unbelievably good. And Pickard's just fine in Chicago. He went in there last time we were in there. So sure, that's fine. This is they got 3 left before the break here. And I sense a team that's taken these 3 pretty seriously. I sense a team that wants to go into their break clear in first place in the Pacific. And I sense a team that would love to look back and say, they never gave up that first place standing the rest of the way. That's what I think I'm seeing in the Oilers. I see the odd reference to we're trying to win a division here, which you don't always hear this early in the season. They want to win, man. This team learned in their 2 Game 7s last year in the road that winning the Pacific's worth something. And I think that whole thing starts right about now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet joins us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Declan Kruger with you. I want to take you out to Buffalo. We saw over the weekend, Tage Thompson took that hit high up from Stefan Noesen. No response from the Sabres on the ice today. They canceled practice, had a team meeting to discuss it, talk the talk, said it won't happen again. There's been some of those situations in Edmonton where, Skinner gets run over and not much happens with Zadorov. And I mean, there's the talk, but the Oilers are a first place team. The culture's strong. I don't worry about it too much. For the Sabres, a last place team, that's got to be deeply concerning that they're not even sticking up for their top dog.
Yeah, it is. It is. Tage Thompson's like their best guy. It's like I come from the old days when you didn't put up with that and somebody dropped the gloves and it was 5 or everybody jumped on the guy. If you didn't have a tough guy out there, which they did not on that occasion, then 5 guys should jump on top of them, right? Like it should be a pack mentality. And, we live in a time today when you might have 3 young European players who just don't know what to do out there and a couple other small guys that don't have it in them to lead the charge. And I know that Samuelson was standing right there in Buffalo, and he's a very timid player. That's just who he is. It's not what it used to be where it was ingrained in every guy that if that happened, we just jump in and make it happen. So, Buffalo, they got nothing to play for but their pride. They better have some damn pride then, right? I'd say. So, yes, I get it how they're disappointed there. I get it how Lindy Ruff's answers after that game weren't good enough. Oh, we had a couple guys who wanted to jump in. No. That's it. Not in Buffalo, man. That ain't going to fly. So, I mean, I like the fact that town and its media and its fans are holding the Buffaloes to account on this. They should, because they're not giving them anything else. They're not giving them enough wins. They're not giving them enough goals. They're not giving them enough success. For crying out loud, give us some pride, will you, when that happens? So I hope that's a lesson we don't have to keep reliving. Wasn't it Lucic that ran over Miller in Buffalo and nobody did anything about that one time not that long ago?
I think Lucic even stopped and looked at them and was waiting for it, and nothing happened. Yeah, it's
not good.
No, and Thomas is 6'6". I mean, when he's hit high, that's a high hit. Like, do something about it.
Dude, it's Stefan Nathan. It's not Lucic. It's not Tom Wilson. It's a guy from, I don't know. Where is Stefan Nathan from?
Could not tell you.
Switzerland or something? Like he's, it's not Dave Schultz here. It's Dave Semenko doing the damage.
I checked in 6'1" too. So 6'1" to 6'6". Even if Tage Thompson's leaning down a little bit, that is a high hit. One more for you. I mean, there's probably not too much to say on it, but Miro Heiskanen, he's going to be out month to month after undergoing knee surgery. Just a massive loss for the Stars.
Oof, I heard in the press box 2 nights ago that they were looking at 4 months. I'm not saying that was an official report, and it was just from a traveling executive that told me that he'd talked to someone in Dallas. They were talking 4 months. Today they come month to month, so that's probably not an erroneous report. I mean, where are we? We're the start of Feb, so you go Feb, March, April, May. I mean, the guy, if he can come back, he's coming back for the Stanley Cup final. Well, I got news for you. The Dallas Stars without Miro Heiskanen aren't making the Stanley Cup final. So it ruins their season. I'm here to tell you, it wrecks their season. I feel sorry for them. I feel bad for them, but if I'm the Winnipeg Jets and I'm going to end up playing Dallas along the way there, I got a vastly inferior opponent he's their best player, right? He's their best player. So tough luck for Dallas. I don't know what to tell you. Tough luck for Dallas.
Yeah, as good as he is, might still be underrated across the hockey landscape. Well, Spec, thanks for doing this today. Enjoy the rest of the evening in the 2 hockey games. We'll talk tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good, Connor.
There you go. Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet joins us every day. Bump them up today because at 5 o'clock, we've got pregame coverage with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson. So gave him the early shift here. Spec Report, as always, brought to you by GS Construction. We'll take a break. When we return, we're joined by Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation, talk some Oilers, NHL, and more. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation Facebook, YouTube, and X, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
90 days.
Your show here on Sports 1440, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca, coming to you live from the eWell studio, where the real power plays to shop. eWell.ca for all of your electrical needs 24/7. eWell.ca, your partner in power. Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, Liam Peace with you here. And why don't we jump into the oil report, brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton. Save up to $12,000 on remaining 2024 Volvo demo models, only at the 13-time Excellence Award winner in sales and service, VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation joins us now. Wanye, good afternoon. How you doing?
Gentlemen, listen to me. I bear terrible news. I woke up this morning. It was minus 40. You know how it is, Connor.
Been there.
And I rolled over and I wanted to start my day like any red-blooded man with Tweaker by Leangelo Ball, the new hottest track from former NBA star. Declan, can you read to me what it says on my iPhone when I try to play Tweaker?
This song is not currently available in your country or region.
Is this from the trade war?
This tariffs?
Is this tariffs? Is this what they did? They took the hottest jam on the coldest day away from its biggest fan?
I have a bigger issue with you calling Jello Ball an NBA star.
Star. One of our brightest lights.
And what did I tell you guys? That song had peaked. I told you that last week.
What are they doing? Why would they take it away from us? You can't bring the hottest song of the year to my ears and then take it away from me. I damn near woke up Steve Jobs. Told him get into work. Sort this out.
What, could you listen to it on YouTube?
Well, I'm sure I could.
That's the play.
But at the same time, I'd like to, have my devices streaming the songs I love. That's the age we live in. I'd say he's a star at this point, Declan. He's kind of like Bronny James. They might not be a star skill-wise, but their level of profile so high, give them the star status.
I'll tell you guys that when there's a song that pops off that doesn't have it's not available on iTunes, I go to YouTube and I put in my playlist. I've got DJ Khaled's Holla at Me from 2006, Childish Gambino, Freaks and Geek, his whole cul-de-sac mixtape. Can't get it on Apple, so I just go to YouTube and that's the play here. Add it to your YouTube playlist.
You're from these streets, aren't you, Connor? You got that bootleg playlist.
I'm from 2002,
Interesting.
Napster and all that. You got to find a way. CH, what time is pre-game, please, from Tiger? That'll get going at 5 o'clock. We'll be out of here at 5 today.
Short day.
Short day.
Interesting.
I don't know where we're going to go. No text on or no name here. Actually, you know what? We'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that because we are in the oil report right now. The Oilers tonight taking on the St. Louis Blues. Kasperi Kapanen revenge game potentially waived by the Blues. Oilers claim him. You got the Holloway and Broberg on the other side. Oilers trying to get back on track after 2 losses. There's some storylines going into this one. Wanye, what are you watching out for?
I don't check other teams because I don't care.
Yeah.
How are Holloway and Broberg doing?
Dylan Holloway, 38 points on the season, 16 goals. So he's second on the Blues.
That's no joke.
Philip Broberg, points-wise, 3 goals, 12 assists. He only had 1 point in the month of January, so kind of slowed down offensively. But he's still playing 20 minutes a night, so he's a big contributor for them on the back end.
As good as Holloway is, I don't think he would have been able to do those numbers with us. He wouldn't be getting the power play time.
Playing, maybe third, second line. Yeah, I mean, he would have been such a nice piece to move around the lineup, but maybe not quite as high. That's what I would say about that one. It looks like Stuart Skinner's going to get a start. Good chance to, and hey, after the tough first period against the Leafs, he kept them within 1 goal towards the end there. Couldn't quite get it done. A chance to rebound, I suppose, for him in St. Louis.
Weren't the Mighty Oil 10-3 in January?
Yeah, sure.
We're not going to get too worked up here.
Not panicked.
Can't win every single game, Connor.
You're right. You are right. Doug says, hate to break it to you, Wanye. It's available on Spotify.
Spotify. Is there a Spotify computer? No. Is there a Spotify phone? No. I don't use Spotify. I let one company take all my money. And it's Apple.
I am as well in that fashion. But I
have SoundCloud. That's when you get the real good stuff, Connor, that's never allowed to be commercially released.
SoundCloud rapper.
Oh, yeah.
Brad says, missed the lineup. Did Echo make the trip? Yeah, he's going to go tonight. So Klingberg might come out here. I just want to try and find the official lineup based off the lines at practice. Klingberg and Philp would be out of the lineup.
Klingberg out?
That was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Echo with Bouchard, Nurse Stetcher, and Kulak Emberson.
Is that load management bringing him back in, or do you think he hasn't merited more ice time?
I mean, I don't think they want to let Stetcher sitting out for too long. Obviously, he played last game because you didn't have Matthias Ekholm, but maybe a little both. I guess we'll see what happens officially tonight, and then tomorrow in Chicago, maybe Klingberg draws back in.
It's such a razor's edge for that guy. He's either a top 4 defenseman or he won't play, hey?
Yeah, it's like the third, Kulak, Emberson, you're locked in. Stetcher, I guess, the same way, though. Could go either way about where he's going to draw into the lineup. But yeah, puck drop in this one, 6 o'clock. So you got to maybe rush home a little bit early. Pre-game coverage here on Sports 1440 will get going at 5 o'clock. K-Dub says, I have Apple Music and I can play it. So
What? Connor, confirm?
it does say that.
You don't think Apple's just messing with me because I said all that mean stuff about Apple, do you?
Maybe. You're in the system.
Other people get it and I don't. Such a good song.
Just going to get the projected line. Looks like Klingberg will be in. This is projected. Yeah. So it looks like it's going to go Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Klingberg, Kulak, Emberson.
No Stetcher.
No Stetcher.
I think they got to move. Either Klingberg's a thing or he's not. What do you think, Connor? Like, we got to play him or we got to get him out of here?
I mean, yeah, I totally agree. You have to play him to see what he is to determine whether or not you're going to go out there and bring someone in at the deadline. I think you should either way. I think more depth defensively is always a good thing. And just maybe in case, we'll see what happens with Klingberg. Like, if you bring someone in and it pushes someone else out of the lineup, I mean, you got to be a little bit ruthless at this point, right? Play the best 6 that you can. So I'm all on board for playing him as much as you can, especially just with the trade deadline looming. I've said it many times. Like, this isn't a Connor Brown situation where you bring him in at the start of the year and you essentially say, okay, you've got 4 or 5 months to get back on track. Klingberg, it was like, you've got 10 games and there's a 2-week break in between. Frozen 4, can't wait.
We used to sign guys to 3-year deals and hope they work out at some point during the contract. Now you got 10 games. Get out of here.
Joseph says, turn off your VPN. Do you know how to do that?
No.
Okay. Well, neither do I.
Oh, I know what he's saying, though. You know what a VPN is?
Visual processor neutron.
Nope. Yes. It makes your device, your computer say it's in a different region.
Yeah, I used to do that for Netflix.
So if I did that, it said I was from the States. Not during this tariff thing. No way. Not when bourbon might go up 2%. No chance. I'm a Canadian.
I used to do it to watch Netflix and watch King of the Hill because it was on American Netflix and not Canadian.
I used to do that too with One Tree Hill, by the way. So totally get what
One Tree Hill. Hey,
such a good show, man. When I was like 16, I remember watching that show at like 15, like going into high school and being like, damn, this is about to be my life. You know what I mean? So yeah, really tough show, heavy.
Joe Daddy says, hey boys, do you think there's a trade to be made for the Oilers to get Brad Marchand, and would he fit into their system?
Brad Marchand, like, is this guy listening? Tweaker's unavailable on iTunes.
If Tweaker's unavailable, then Marchand, there's no way.
There's no way.
I saw that pop up though on TSN. We joked about it last week with who wasn't Kevin McGran, like on TSN main page. Brad Marchand available? ? Could he fit with the Leafs? I don't get why Boston would trade him for one. That's like, and what do I know? Who am I? But why would they trade their captain? Like, they're still in it. I don't think that's going to happen.
If there's one thing I've learned being on the internet since it was turned on, it's that people like to run the scenario of trades in their head.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to come true. You just need to be like, imagine Marchand in the first line and on the PP, and everyone goes, whoa. And then they turn on each other on X, whether it's a good idea or not.
Well, yeah, then you just debate it. And it probably never happens. But if it were to happen, Brad Marchand, yeah, every team would love to have him on their team wearing their colors. $6.125 million. He's a UFA after the season. I don't know. Brad Marchand to me just seems like a lifetime Bruin. 1-year contracts after this, like similar to Patrice Bergeron. He's just he'll sign 1 year, whatever, stick around, and when he's done, he's done.
There's probably 20 players in the league that are going to go wire to wire with one team, and I feel like Marchand is one of them. And so is Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby apologists are trying to trade him right now. It's never going to happen.
Joe Daddy said, "Hey, Luka got traded. LOL. You win this round, wrong. Joe Daddy. You win this round. Yep." But for sure, it'd be one that would be a little bit crazy. Did I read Brad's review of Klingberg? I don't think so. He says, thought he looked great, really poised and calm with the puck. Looks like he's in trouble, but somehow makes the pass out of trouble. And the way I look at it, like as much as I say there's not that much time for him to prove it, he's only going to get better in all these games. Like the games I think is going to slow down for him once again. He'll get more comfort on his hips, legs, everything. start to see things a little bit more, get more comfortable making, the passes, taking a hit to make a play. Like, I think the more the season goes on, the better he's going to look. So if you think he's looked good now, give it more time. If you're unsure, still give it a little bit more time and see what happens. But yeah, it was a good bet, I think, for the Edmonton Oilers to go give him that contract. Worst case scenario, he's your seventh defenseman, and the money's not going to hurt you. Just from the Oilers website, and I believe they've been incorrect in their predictions a little while, or a few games in a row here. But Draisaitl, McDavid, Perry, like we thought, Arvidsson, Hyman with Nuge, Skinner, Enrique Kapanen, Podkolzin, Janmark, Brown. So it looks like Noah Phillips draws out of the lineup. Then on the back end, Matthias Ekholm returns from the flu. He'll play with Bouchard, Nurse, Klingberg, and Kulak. Emberson. Pod says, you guys think that Braden Shen would be a good second line player for the Oilers? Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it depends who's on our second line. I mean, is McDavid going solo and then Draisaitl drops down to the second line? Braden Shen's a good hockey player.
I like scenarios, Connor. Like, who'd look great on this team?
Who?
1992 Sergei Fedorov. It'd be unbelievable. On the wing, those white skates.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be able to happen. You just need to be able to compute the scenario.
It could maybe a little later in his career when he was all Nike'd out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy would be.
Imagine him with Connor on the same line.
Yeah, hey, I mean, if Shen were available, guy's a perennial 20-goal scorer, maybe a little higher. Listed as a center. I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't think much is going to happen. I think the Oilers are maybe one or two trades. A little more depth on the wing, and then maybe someone on the back end. Anywho, that's the Oil Report. Brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton. Wanye, we'll take a break here. Try to stay on the clock a little bit. When we come back, we can talk a little bit more. We got a text here from Doug, is it? Yes, Doug in Edmonton. We'll get to that and more. It's the Jason Gregor Show, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Right now, the way sports 1440 update for Legacy Heating and Cooling. They are hiring HVAC installers and plumbers. Starting bonuses to the right candidates. Strong benefits, RRSP matching, tuition reimbursement. Apply today at legacyheating.ca. Here is Declan Kruger.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, 14 games tonight in the NHL, including, of course, the Edmonton Oilers as they're on the road in St. Louis to take on the Blues. That one is going to see a 6 p.m. puck drop with Stuart Skinner getting the start in net. Other games in action across the league will see the Vegas Golden Knights in New York to take on the Islanders, Maple Leafs in Calgary to take on the Flames, Avs in Vancouver to take on the Canucks, and the Stars in Anaheim to take on the Ducks. In the NBA, we do have 7 games on the schedule today. It all gets going with one game at 5 p.m., Dallas and Philadelphia. The nationally televised games, we'll see Boston in Cleveland taking on the Cavs, and the Lakers taking on the Clippers from the Inuit Dome. News around the sporting world is Dallas Stars defenseman Miro Heiskanen underwent knee surgery today and is considered to be out month to month, according to head coach Peter DeBoer. Caleb Martin and Quentin Grimes are poised to switch locker rooms in Philadelphia. The Mavs are acquiring Martin in a trade with the 76ers that will send Grimes back to the Eastern Conference, and the teams do play later today. Toronto Argonauts have re-signed quarterback Nick Arbuckle, the team announced. Arbuckle was named the 111th Grey Cup Most Outstanding Player after helping the Argonauts to a 41-24 victory over the Bombers last November. And Alphonso Davies has re-signed with Bayern Munich, ending a lengthy romance with other big-name European clubs reportedly interested in the Canadian captain. The new deal will run through June 30th, 2030. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Tonight, Lotto Max, an estimated $10 million. You can get your ticket at PlayAlberta.ca. Remember, all revenue stays in Alberta at PlayAlberta.ca. Use your game sense. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, and Liam Peace here at the Ewell Studios in West Edmonton Mall, where the real power play is to shop at ewell.ca for all your electrical needs 24/7. Ewell.ca is your partner in power. The text line is 1-833-401-1440. A lot of text rolling in here. I had earlier said we don't have too many Chiefs fans that text into the show, because if they did, they'd probably be calling me out. This one comes from Doug in Edmonton. Hey, guys. Heard you were talking football earlier. I'm a huge Chiefs fan. Been a fan since 1993 when Joe Montana was traded there. They have the best QB to ever play the game. I would never bet against them. I'm going to do it. I'm all in on the Eagles.
You're going to bet against Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
But she wore a red dress to the Grammys. Do you even understand football?
Yeah, somewhat. I saw people like Swifties taking pictures of her legs at the Grammys. What is she training for? I'm like, they're normal legs. Everything she does is not amazing.
They look pretty toned.
Everyone's legs are toned.
Everyone's legs are
It's
toned?
called walking. You get toned legs. I'm not buying into the hype of Taylor Swift anymore.
What? Hype? What?
Not in it. I'm done.
Do you think Cowboy Carter should have won that award?
Yeah.
What? You think that's better than Tortured Poets?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my God.
I don't listen to your mainstream music, Wanye.
Listen to me. I'm a SoundCloud rap aficionado. I happen to know for a fact that the Tortured Poets department was way better than Cowboy Carter. I know it.
The St. Texas. That's all I know from Cowboy Carter. Lots of text rolling in here. Rage Texter B says, a little bit late, but why did Edmonton change their game plan for Toronto? Put Dry and McDavid together. Why? I don't know. It's not something that Coach Knobloch goes to often, as we've mentioned. Like, the seventh time will be tonight. Maybe it was to match the top end talent of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, they only lost 4-3. They were close, and it wasn't necessarily that line combination that hurt them. It was 2 power play goals in the first period, so it's a bit of a change. See how it works tonight. Nuge, Arvidsson, Hyman on the second line. We'll see if they can chop wood and carry water. Steve from Drumheller says, it'll take a little time for chemistry with Klingberg as well. Pretty tough knowing where the fastest player in the NHL will be and firing him with a pass. That's it too. All these things, the longer he plays, the more he plays, the better it's going to get. JR and Red Deer says, we have a lot of perennial 20-goal scorers and fans are screaming. We need to find someone that fits with Draisaitl and can finish. Yeah, I want a shooter on this team. I want a pure shooter with Connor McDavid one day. Love Zach Hyman. Does all the right things, goes to net, can finish. But imagine having someone who could, in a 2-on-1 situation, stride with McDavid, take the shot and just bury it. Easier said than done. I get it's not like you're just going to find a guy like that on the street, but I'd love to see it one day. Eden, father of Arias. Could you do me a favor and let all the Madrid and Barcelona fans out there know the Edmonton fullback has already filled his trophy case at Bayern. He won 5 Bundesliga titles. 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 2 DFB Cups, 2019, 2020, the UEFA Champions League, 2020, UEFA Super Cup, 2020, DFL Super Cup, 2021, 22, and FIFA Club World Cup 2020. Mia San Mia. Eden, father of Arias. That's to the Madrid and Barcelona fans out there. Fonzie staying in Germany till 2030. Corey from Leduc, thanks for Tranquil, by the way. He left us. Thanks for Brandon Flowers. I don't really like Drew Tranquil. Guys, like too much hatred for his former team. Just go keep winning Super Bowls. Sean says the Oilers could trade for depth at forward ND. It will not matter if they're going to gamble on this goaltending again. For me, this is really simple. Get an actual goalie, win the cup. Status quo and bow out in the conference final. No need to overthink this. They're a good team everywhere else. Not perfect, but good. Get a damn goalie already, Sean. Sean, you tell me who you want. Who's out there? Who's the guy? I'm not against, adding some goaltending stability. Stuart Skinner's had some less than ideal situations, but we've seen him bounce back strong. Like he's been really good after those bad performances. I want to see what he does tonight. See how he handles it. But I'm curious which goalie would be the guy you go out there and get. Bad Leroy Brown says, "Hey Connor, I know you're a big Jimmy Butler fan. What do you think of the way he's handling the situation with the Heat? I got one and disappointed and don't look at him the same anymore." Well, yeah, everyone knows here that I'm the biggest Jimmy Butler fan in the building. Have been for a long time. Loved him in Chicago, Minnesota, now with Miami. Wherever he's been, I've been the biggest fan. But Declan's the bigger fan.
I'm surprised we never talked about it, Connor. I thought that would have come up between us a time or two if you were that big of a fan.
Declan Kruger is 100% the biggest Jimmy Butler fan in the building.
Maybe the world.
Maybe the world. He's a stan, I think they call him.
Hell yeah.
We've talked about it a little bit, but let's dive in. Declan, you've already said it has changed the way you looked at him and the Miami Heat a little bit, right?
Well, I mean, it'll never, like, I'll always have his back. Like, I'm always going to ride with him. Like, he's my favorite player. You know, there's always an element if he can do no wrong. But he was inevitably a problem in the locker room in Chicago when he told Fred Hoiberg he was a trash coach in front of the whole team. You know, he was a problem in Minnesota when he took 4 G League players and beat the starters and yelled in the GM's face, "You can't win without me, pay me." Philly was, I guess, a little bit better, but he still ended up leaving. And then when they beat them in the playoff series, had his whole Tobias Harris over me quote. And now he's a problem in Miami. So it follows him. It's not lost on me that this is kind of his thing and who he is a little bit. But I will also say this, to not understand that Pat Riley has butchered this situation so horribly going into the last couple weeks is just simply not paying attention. Now, Jimmy has done nothing but make it worse, and he's done himself no favors. But this specific one here in Miami, you got to put a lot of it on Pat Riley.
You know who wouldn't do any of that stuff?
Who?
LiAngelo Ball.
Yeah, because he couldn't make the league.
He was in the league? He had those cool dreads.
He was in the G League.
He never played in the NBA?
I don't think he ever played a regular season game, no.
I only know him as a musician. A song I used to be able to hear.
That's fair. I think you can probably seek it out still.
It's hard to watch a player put all those different teams through the ringer. Because, like, you might get into one situation with a club or with a coach or a teammate, but to consistently have that level of, like, instability, that ain't it.
I know him as a guy who, while playing at UCLA, was on a trip in China and committed some crimes.
What did he do?
I think he stole something and got caught. That's how I know him. But yeah, Jimmy Butler.
That, by the way, the guy who stole something in China, that was Jello Ball, not Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy's. Sorry, no.
Jimmy's a lot of things, but Jimmy is not a thief.
Jimmy, well,
was it really LiAngelo?
Yeah, it was him and a teammate.
Yeah, I didn't mean Jimmy.
Wow. I only started paying attention to the NBA about 45 minutes ago.
Jimmy didn't play at UCLA. So
Jimmy played at Marquette, and
that was my swerve there. Love Jimmy's play. Clearly a tool from Walter. Triple C in a truck. Jimmy's always been soft. Jimmy's always been in his feelings. But he's a damn good basketball player. Just needs some help.
I don't know if I'd say he's been soft. He's been in his feelings a little bit, but I don't know if you could call him soft.
Frethy says the pure shooter's Jeff Skinner. Yeah, and he can't get on that top line for an extended period of time. Phil Kessel. No. Maybe? No. That'd be funny. Sean follows up with just saying, Colorado did it. Just get a goalie, Skinner, isn't it? They don't need Shesterkin. Well, they can't afford Shesterkin. They just need a better than a backup like Colorado did. Goaltending's top of the list. We pay management lots of money to find guys. Find a goalie, win the cup. Sean. Diesel Dave says, we already have a cup. We're already cup caliber. I don't think goaltending is worth it. Maybe save 1 or 2 goals in the spring. Could easily go the other way. We know that looking back at last year, if we win the cup last year, if Kane, Nurse, and Dry are healthier, just a little more depth puts us over the top. What is Jello Ball? He's the least successful Ball brother.
Most successful banger maker.
Yeah, least successful in terms of actual basketball, but jury's still out on most successful overall.
No, it's not.
No, you're right. That is
one-hit wonder. He's not even available in Apple and in Canada anymore.
But he's playing Rolling Loud.
Who isn't?
Oh, wow.
Didn't the AB perform there?
He sure did.
So
you know you're Rolling Loud.
Love AB.
He's pretty good on X.
Former athletes. Yeah, he is pretty good. Husk says they stole some glasses. Also, Butler ain't soft.
Thank you. I knew Husks would know. He always knows.
He's got your back.
He's got it on lock. He knows ball.
Oh, Perthy say it was, sunglasses. For whatever reason, I was thinking like bar glasses, but sunglasses. Temptation must have been there. Good afternoon. When you ask who's out there for goalies, well, that's how we got Ekholm. Nobody thought he was out there, so let's give it a shot. And to get us a goalie, you never know who's gettable if you don't try. Thanks, Darce. You bring up a very good point. But I mean, I can't just reach out to Stan Bowman, go get it done. Even if he's listening to us, I don't think we're going to sway his decision.
That's not true. You guys have a media guide. You could probably locate Stan Bowman's phone number if you really put your head down and your investigative cap on.
Yeah. And then I text him, and then he reports me, and then the Oilers are just done with me.
Say you're Declan. Send Stan Bowman unrequested trade proposals and say you're Declan.
Would you find if he just like went along with it? He's like, yeah, that's good. I'll think about it.
One of my favorite things Stoff does, and I love Bob Stauffer. Let's get real here. I love it when he proposes trades, as though like they're imminent. You know what I mean?
It creates banter and hope, and
it's great.
Disagreements. Lance asking you, which Oiler do you think would make the best album?
Oh, here's an interesting story. One time, Cam McDavid was doing an interview, and he said that Connor, as a youth, made an electronica techno song. And Connor, it was also in the interview and got all embarrassed. And Cam said, I had it on my phone for years and would play it for people. And it was really good. And Connor was like, that's one of the few times I've seen him flustered. I would give anything to hear that song. But he lost the phone. He doesn't have the file anymore.
That's too bad.
So I think Connor, that song might be a banger. It might be the new Avicii Levels.
Oilers goal song?
Oh. Did you listen? Who was it that had the song? Cooper Marody.
Yeah.
That was a good song.
I think I have it on my my playlist, actually.
Your secret one on YouTube that only you can access?
No, because it's available on Apple Music because he's a legit recording artist.
Wow.
Cooper Marody. Behind Me, single.
That's the one.
Check it out at YouTube. John says, I got to disagree with Sean. Stu is the guy. There's no way you can find a legitimate goalie for a better cap hit at 2.6 mil. There's only a handful of goalies better than Stu. Most are on playoff teams. Most cost a fortune in cap and would cost a fortune in assets to acquire, and most are unavailable. John from British Columbia. Roger in Calgary says, oh no, Jimmy is down. Jimmy hates George's. Jimmy's going to kill George. Roger in Calgary? Is that a Seinfeld joke? Jimmy, yeah. When we were talking about Jimmy is soft, Jimmy is whatever in his feelings. That's what I was getting to. Seinfeld vibes. Walter just says that Skinner only let in one too many goals last season. Yeah, I mean, he's not perfect. He has his off nights, as lots of goalies do. There's things in his game you'd love to see improved upon. I just think for me, it's consistency. There was a really good text, actually, and I want to try to find it if I can, because I did mention bouncing back after poor starts. Vinny says, I know he's still young, but shouldn't we be past this? He needs to find some consistency, no? And I agree. I mean, in professional sports, I think in a lot of things in life, that's what separates someone from being good at someone being great, doing it at a consistent level. How many NHL players do we see and we're like, oh, good player, pretty streaky? Not many can do it the way that Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, Nikita Kucherov. I could go on. Like, those are why they are the greats of the great. The best goalies in the NHL, I don't think I have Stuart Skinner in the elite category, but a good goalie finds more consistency. Who knows what the ceiling is? There's always going to be people that don't like him. That's just the way it goes. Like, everyone has haters. It doesn't matter who you are, but I don't know. There's a lot more defensemen. Every NHL team has 6 or 7 defensemen on their roster that could play. I feel like you're more likely to be able to make a trade. How many really good goalies are there out there that would be available for trade? And if you have one, why are you letting him go? Like, I don't know. I'm just less sold that you can find a good goalie than a good defenseman. Going back to the comparison of Matthias Ekholm not being out there. John says, I don't think he's available, but I would love a Skinner Dostal tandem, but it'd have to be an Ekholm style acquisition for sure. Yeah. The Ulsterman. Well, and Calvin Pickett's been good this year. So if you're getting to a situation in the Stanley Cup playoffs where Skinner hasn't lived up to it, you just have more confidence in Dostal? And is there a chance he would surpass him as the number one goalie? I don't know. Ask Sean how many goalies considered top 5 have even made the finals. Well, I got that guy out in Tampa. Pretty dang good. Who are the top 5 goalies in the NHL right now? What's the consensus? Connor Hellebuyck's never made it. Who else are we thinking here?
Are you judging this based on skill present moment? Or are you judging this based on career?
Let's go like right now.
Barkov.
Declan, you got some here?
No, sorry. Are we still doing top 5 goalies in the NHL?
Like top 5 goalies and how they made it to the Stanley Cup.
Well,
final.
yeah, because I was thinking about that. Like I was looking, like I would say when Vass made it,
Yeah.
those 3 years he was top 5. You would probably still say Carey Price when he made it was top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say Binnington that for that one magical season was top 5 when the Blues won it?
Not a great year this year. Had a good game over the weekend.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying like when they made it, would you say that for that 1 year he was top 5?
I think the question might be like how many top 5 goalies right now in the league have been to Cup finals?
Oh, I see.
Well, that list obviously gets a little bit shorter because things change. The argument then would probably be
like, do you have Bobrovsky?
Yeah, like he would be the only one unless you, Vass, if you still think he's top 5. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously a shorter list. And to answer the question, no, I would not have Bob top 5.
Okay.
I think I would do Hellebuyck, Shesterkin. I'm going to be honest, man. I'm putting Logan Thompson in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably put, I'd have to think on the rest of it. I don't want to bite my tongue, so I'm going to think on it, but I'd say those 3 for sure right now.
Nail says, do you consider Connor Hellebuyck the go-to guy? Who is better in the playoffs, Hellebuyck or Skinner? Well, that's it. And you can have the best goalie, but if you're not getting the run support from your offense, still need to be on a really good team. Oddball says, thanks to Campbell, Skinner had to skip his backup goalie stage. Yeah, he was kind of thrust into the lineup pretty quick there. Rage Texter B says, Bouchard and Skinner for Dobson and Sorokin. What's Sorokin's cap hit? Because I think Bouchard and Dobson pretty close. I have to go take a deeper look into that one. Scott says Skinner is great for his price point, but it is win now. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no denying that. I'm totally open to sit here and say you could upgrade the goaltender position, but then it just rolls into who, is it realistically possible? How many teams have a goalie better than Stuart Skinner and are like, don't need him? We're going to move on. That's kind of my question. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Dave McCarthy of Sirius XM NHL. Still to come on this show, Cam Jansson will join us to talk some Blues. We'll also hear from Jason Strudwick, 5 questions, and more. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, also streaming on Oilers Nation Facebook, YouTube, and X, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
Yappa
Back to the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. You can use promo code Gregor50 and get a $50 free plate with your deposit. Tonight's Lotto Max, an estimated $10 million. You can get that online at PlayAlberta.ca. Know your limits. Stay within it. GameSenseAB.ca. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, and Liam Peace with you here from the Ewell Studios in West Edmonton Mall. Game day edition of the show is the Oils set to take on Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway in St. Louis. They'll be in Chicago tomorrow night. Tonight, though, 6 o'clock puck drop. That means pregame coverage from 5 to 6 with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson. Right now, we're going to go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's, who presents a hockey showdown for the ages. McDavid versus Matthews. Find out who's the best and try some top-line menu items as well, like the Smoky Quarter Poppy or the Big Mac David. The showdown menu available at McDonald's. Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM joins us now. Dave, how are you doing today?
Hey, Connor, what's up? I never know who's going to be here. I thought Gregor was back. You're here. It's all good. I love it. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I was a little uncertain as well. I believe Gregor's back tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know when he might even be home now. He might have got in late last night. Not exactly sure. Oh, yeah. No pressure. We got to make sure this sounds really good today. So, Dave, I want to just start off first with the Buffalo Sabres and kind of a weird one over the weekend, how Tage Thompson, he takes the high hit. He's 6'6". When he gets hit high, it's a high hit. And there was no response from his team, no practice today. They have an in-house meeting, and, they say that'll never happen again. But for the Buffalo Sabres, like, how do you do nothing and when your best player is laying there on the ice?
Well, some teams just don't have the makeup to go after an opponent when a hit like that occurs. It reminded me of an incident early last season here in Toronto when Brad Marchand dumped Timothy Liljegren into the corner. I think it was in early November, and it was a pretty greasy hit. Like, at least you'd expect someone to go over and give him the hairy eyeball, but it was a lot of all that kind of thing, looking away, making sure you don't make eye contact.
Yeah.
And it was a similar response from Sheldon Keefe at the time. Ryan Reeves, and he said, we sat guys down and said, this can't be. And since that day, we have seen more of a willingness to at least push back a little bit when a guy gets taken liberties with. No one's going to confuse the Leafs for the Broad Street Bullies, but there are guys now, including the top guys, and that's where it has to start, right? Like, it can't always be your tough guy on the fourth line, because chances are they're not on the ice when Tage Thompson's on the ice or when Mitch Marner or whoever's on the ice. It's got to be your top guys that get a hand in someone's face. And that's important. I really do believe that there's a big part to that still in the game. And if you're not willing to stand up for your teammates and at least make it clear that, okay, I'm not going to drag you through the alley. That's just not my game. I'm not capable of that, whatever it might be. But I'm going to come and push and shove you. We're going to get into a scrum, and it's going to be clear that we don't stand for that type of thing. If it becomes clear that you don't care, then what do you think is going to start happening? Is that guys are going to be taking liberties all over the ice. And it doesn't do much to inspire the guys sitting next to you on the bench when you watch your top player go down and everyone else is just like it doesn't work. It's not a winning mentality. So, I think they got a lot of work to do in Buffalo, clearly on a number of different fronts, because what a disaster this season has turned into.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of a team for me that I've been always waiting. Like, is this the year they take that next step? And it just hasn't happened. A team that I think some people might have been a little bit disappointed in this year would be the New York Rangers, but they go out and bring in JT Miller. He's been great since going back to the organization, getting out of Vancouver now. Do you think that's enough for the Rangers to get back on track and, try to get back into that playoff hunt, or do you think they need to make some more moves?
Well, he's been good since he's come back. The issue with the Rangers is that they've got some ground to make up, right? They've got 5 points to make up on the Columbus Blue Jackets. They only have a game in hand. Once you get to this point of the year, games in hand are only valuable if you win them. And generally speaking, if you have games in hand at this time of the year, it means your schedule is more compact than those that you are chasing at this time of the year, right? If you need to play more games in the same amount of time, guess what's going to happen? So it becomes less and less likely that you win them. And in addition to that, they've got a number of teams that they need to pass: the Islanders, the Bruins, Tampa Bay, just to get to the wild card. And then they got to find a way to pass one of Columbus or Detroit at this point. I mean, Columbus, man, I feel bad for them. Marchenko, what a fluke play, sitting on the bench. Now he's out for a long time. He was playing great. I just wonder if they're going to have enough to sustain the impressive, more than now first half of the season that they've been on. You look at them, could they be a team that's vulnerable? Like, I don't think Tampa's, even though they're on the outside looking in right now, I feel like they are going to find a way to get it together. They're only a point back. And I just think they're too good. I think they'll find a way. So, like, where are the spots coming from? If you're the New York Rangers, that becomes the difficult thing. Detroit's playing a lot better. I think the Rangers will finish ahead of the Islanders. Boston, I'm not so sure about. But beyond that, spots become limited. So, no, I like the look of their roster right now, Connor. I really do. Like, it looks to me like a roster that is a playoff team. It's just that they've dug themselves such a deep hole and have put themselves in such a precarious position. The odds are, to an extent, stacked against them.
Dave McCarthy joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz sitting in. We've had a lot of texts coming in here, Dave, about the Edmonton Oilers goaltending, and some fans thinking it'd be a good idea maybe to add some depth at the position. Is there any goaltender out there that you think that the Oilers could bring in to help out, that would realistically fit in, factoring salary cap and, a team being willing to part ways with them?
That's the tough part when you're a team like the Edmonton Oilers right now, when you're already right up against it in terms of cap space, is that if you bring in a guy that carries any kind of cap hit, presumably it's as insurance, right? If Stuart Skinner, heaven forbid, should get hurt or underperforms, then you have him at your disposal. But in the meantime, he's eating up $2 million. He's sitting in a baseball hat. And is that really helping your team, right? So that's the gamble, I guess, that you try to live with if you're Stan Bowman, is that, okay, even if I go out and get a guy who represents better depth than we have right now in Calvin Pickard, is that guy a guy that with the team in front of him, I feel we could win a cup with? Like, I don't know. Like, there's not too many backup goalies in this league. And that's what it would be in Edmonton, right? Is that it can't be a tandem. It's just too much money. If a guy's making like 3+, so it would have to be a quote unquote backup, but a guy who's maybe better than Calvin Pickard. But who are you identifying that, if you have to go down that route, still puts you in a position to win a Stanley Cup? Maybe a round or two, but like, it's just such a difficult situation the way the Oilers are constructed right now to invest in a goalie that you feel would be capable of helping you win a Stanley Cup if you need to turn to them. Honestly, like, there's not too many guys out there. I'm just looking at teams that are out of the playoffs right now. Like, Semyon Varlamov in New York with the Islanders, he makes a lot of money. Like, he's a good goalie, but he makes too much money for Edmonton right now. Even if he makes $5, I believe, right? Even if they were to get
Varlamov's 2.75,
only 2.7. Okay, so they'd still need to get a team involved or the Islanders to eat a good chunk of that. Like, maybe if you can get him at what would that be, 1.3, maybe. Beyond that, though, there's really not anybody else that immediately jumps to mind. Like, is Carl Vejmelka, and I don't know, probably not, right? John Gibson makes too much money. Beyond that, who are we looking at?
Well, that's it. I mean, we had a couple of texts rolling in saying Ryan Pulock and potentially Sorokin for Skinner and Bouchard, and I ran the math there. That's $6.5 million in cap extra for the Oilers. I don't know if any team's doing you favors in eating some of the cap space, or even if the Islanders would make that move. Like, you got to re-sign Dobbs, and maybe they want to keep him in New York for an extended period of time. So
they just signed Sorokin. I wouldn't be convinced that they want to move on from the guy because they've got Barzal locked up long term. They got Bo Horvat locked up long term. They've got pieces where they think they've got a core in place that I think they're going to want to try and add to and tinker with around the edges. And Ilya Sorokin is a big part of that. If you move on Ilya Sorokin, is Stuart Skinner a part of that deal? Probably, right? Got to have money going out. Do the Islanders look at Stuart Skinner and whoever? That to me, if I'm the Islanders, doesn't seem like something that's all that intriguing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Stuart Skinner is just 2.9 mil, 2.6. Sorry, he's on a great contract. It would be 6.5 going out and 12.25 million coming in. So the Oilers in their cap situation right now, I just don't think that one works. Dave McCarthy joining us here on Sports 1440, the Jason Gregor Show, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Dave, let's look at a team down south here from us. The Calgary Flames making that trade with the Philadelphia Flyers last week. I did not think the Flames would be in contention, but they're just hanging around. What have you thought about the season so far for the Flames? And do you think they can fend off the rest of the pursuers in that wild card race?
I think they got a good chance right now. I mean, you're looking at it, to me, the only team they really have to fend off is Vancouver and maybe St. Louis. But St. Louis is really not showing me anything that's getting me at all excited. And they're 7 points back, and they've played one more game. So, they got a deep hole. You're really looking at Vancouver, I think, if you're Calgary, and saying, can we be better than them over the next 30 games? And I think that's a possibility right now. I thought it was great that Craig Conroy went out and rewarded his group for being in a position right now where they're in a playoff spot with a couple of guys that are not just for this year, but in Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee, you're getting two real players, like two quality middle six type forwards to add to your lineup for years to come, to surround the guys that you've already committed to in Nazem Kadri and Jonathan Huberdeau. And it sounds like there's a reluctance in Calgary to trade a guy like Rasmus Andersson. So I thought that was a good move. It made sense because it's not cashing in on assets in a year where maybe you hang on, maybe you squeeze in, maybe you don't. I think it was a good play for the remainder of this year, but also for years down the road. And I look at them and I say, I think they do have a good chance. Their goaltending has been what has set them apart this year. Dustin Wolf has been awesome, and Dan Vladar has been really good as well. They've struggled to score. Their goals against per game is just okay. Well, the thing with Dustin Wolf is that he's making big saves at key times in games. And that's what's really inspiring about him. He's shown himself to be a clutch goalie. But if they can score a little bit more, Farabee and Frost should help that. They can help on the power play a little bit. Their power play's not been very good. And if they can get their penalty killing up, quite honestly, out of the bottom of the league, they're 29th right now. If they can get to 20th, just improve slightly down the stretch here, I see a lot of factors that leave me excited, not about being a cup contender, but about being able to hold off a team like Vancouver and squeeze in if you're Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'd love to see them get in the playoffs. It's crazy how things have changed. It's a team not rooting for, but I'd say it's impressive what they've been able to do. You respect that. So we'll see if it continues for the remainder of the season. Dave, as we head, 1 week, give or take, away from the start of the Four Nation face-off, when we return from that, who do you think are some teams that could be poised to go on a run here?
Yeah, see, I'll just finish off. That's why I love you guys, right? Even though you're in Edmonton, even though you're talking to the Edmonton market, you still tell it like it is. You still tell me what's real. And Calgary has been a real story, and you got to give credit for that. Otherwise, people are just dancing bears, and I lose interest. I can't listen to people like that. Down the stretch here, that'll go on runs. Are we talking about teams that are on the outside that looking in right now to squeeze in, or teams that are in solidifying themselves with better positioning?
Either way, anyone you think that just could heat up down the stretch a little bit and, maybe even change their fortunes with a trade or two.
I hope I do not get burned, but once again, the Ottawa Senators have piqued my interest. Okay, now they have fooled me numerous times in the past, but they've won 5 in a row again. Linus Ullmark, we at least put his equipment on yesterday, and he backed up, so that was nice. Maybe he'll get on the ice next. That'll be the next step, and then they can get him back, and that should only help solidify their goaltending. Like, he's been out for a long time here. Like, geez. Anyway, the fact that they've stayed in the mix without him is impressive, but that's what I mean. You get him back. They paid him a lot of money. They've committed to him. And when he's at his best, when he's feeling good, he can be a great goalie in this league. So, Ottawa's only 2 points back of the Leafs right now, which is absolutely wild to say, especially considering the fact that they had struggled to score here for a period of time. Brady Tkachuk, up until last week, went 10 games without a point. He's finally getting it going a little bit offensively the last 3 or 4 games here. But they're playing a style right now that I think will have success at this time of the year. There's a little bit of bite to their game. They can score enough, I think. So, yeah, I'll look at Ottawa and say, just because of the run they've gone on, the position they've put themselves in here, can they hold off Detroit, hold off Boston? They put some distance between themselves and the Bruins. Yeah, I like Ottawa. Again, I just hope they don't make a fool out of me 3 weeks from now.
I'm with you. I'm rooting for the Sens. That's a team, I'll fully admit there's a bias. Calgary can, so we don't necessarily love them as much out west. Some people don't like Toronto, but the Sens have got a soft spot for us. I'm hoping you're right there, Dave. Thanks for doing this today. Appreciate it. We'll have you on again next week with Gregor, and we'll get looking forward to the Four Nation Face-Off.
See, me here in Toronto, I can still say the Senators have been an impressive story.
Yeah, that's why we have you on, Dave.
There we go. See you, buddy.
There you go. That's Dave McCarthy of Sirius XM. That's Around the NHL, also brought to you by McDonald's. If you haven't had it yet, go check it out. The Smoky Quarter Poppy or the Big Mac David. I'm a Big Mac David guy myself, Wanye. Double Big Mac, pretty good.
I would never eat a Smoky Quarter Poppy. That's disgusting.
It's tougher. It's tough to do here in Edmonton. Lots of texts rolling in here regarding Skinner and goalies and other things. We'll get to that when we come back here. It is the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 and Play Alberta's Oilers Nation's Facebook, YouTube, and X. Brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Show here on Sports 1440, streaming on Oilers Nation Facebook, YouTube, and X. Shout out to everyone on the tube, as I like to call it. Andrew, Epiphany, Blake, Lance. Lance and Blake having a really good discussion in the chat. Hit that like button. 1-833-401-1440. That is the text line. The Jason Gregor Show is brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Lotto Max tonight, an estimated $10 million. Get your ticket, PlayAlberta.ca. And a reminder, use your game sense. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, and Liam Peace with you here at the E-Whale Studios. Drew had texted in, hey, what's Stuart Skinner's stats in the playoffs? Declan, you hit him with a 19-15, 2.83 goals against average, and an 8.94 save percentage. That's on total. If you want to just, go back to the most recent, last year, he was 14-9 with a save percentage of 901 and a goals against average of 245. So it improved his second time around in the Stanley Cup playoffs, north of 900. Sure, you might like it to be a little bit higher, but 901, that's what it was for those wondering. Delta Golf says, why are we moving on from Skinner? He is fine. The biggest problem with Skinner is that the media isn't convinced. Well, the media doesn't play goals. So, just heard McCarthy say how awesome Wolf and Vidar are. Why don't we just trade Skinner and Picard for those two? That's right, silliness. Well, Delta Golf. I guess I would be in this situation, the media. I'm not saying trade Skinner. I'm good with Stuart Skinner. I'm a believer in Stuart Skinner. It's a lot of texts that come in. So, I don't know. Maybe not all the media is convinced. Maybe there's not enough in my tone to say that I'm a true believer, but I want to believe in Stuart Skinner. And I just don't know how a trade's going to happen. I've been wrong before. I didn't see Matthias Ekholm getting traded from the Pride to the Oilers, and it happened. Chad says, Talbot has good numbers. Ooh, bringing back Cam Talbot. JRD says, remember when Darnell Nurse was the worst? Please, give Stu a chance, people. He wasn't the worst. He just had some warts in his game. Offer sheet for Wolf in the offseason for Edmonton. I don't think the Calgary Flames will let it get that far. I think they'll have a nice little package set up for the Wolf of Wall Street. Is there a popular street in Calgary? They have the Red Mile. Do you know?
I don't.
9th Street. The Wolf of 9th Street, they could call him.
Oh, that's cool.
Declan's thumb was on the on button. I thought he might say something.
Thought it was 17th Street.
No, that might be it then. The Wolf
I
of
could be
17th
wrong.
Street.
Yeah.
He's a nice young tendy. I believe in Stuart Skinner, and I believe in Harvey Dent from Spycatcher. Oh, no. Well, Harvey Dent died a hero, at least. At least in The Dark Knight. I don't know what's going on in the comic books or anything. Two-Face, Wanye. You know that one?
I do.
The Wolf of Shaganappy Trail from Jeremy at the Art of Cake. Shout out. Good cupcakes.
The Wolf of 17th Street, if that's what it is cool.
It's a little simpler.
It's got to have street in it.
I think so. It makes it a little bit easier because then a better play on the movie. The game tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, simple enough to say, can't have a bad start. Can't take penalties against the Blues. Probably not the snipers that the Toronto Maple Leafs have to hurt you. And you have Matthias Ekholm back. Wanye, how do you avoid the slow starts as a professional athlete? Can't just rely on a rah-rah speech. The boys got to be ready to go tonight when the game gets going right at 6:08.
Really good teams don't lose 3 games, right?
Yeah.
So this is a point of pride. I'm not that concerned. Are you concerned?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know what 5 questions will entail. Declan, if there's going to be a prediction for the next 2 games here or anything like that, I got palms up. I mean, these to me are 2 games that I think the Edmonton Oilers should walk away with wins. Now, that's been the case in the past. It doesn't always necessarily work out that way. The St. Louis Blues were on a bit of a losing skid. They beat the Utah Hockey Club, and they should be desperate. Like the St. Louis Blues, they need to win hockey games. They're 7 points back of the Calgary Flames in the standings. They already had Brandon Saad up and leave, give up $5 million, 5.4, I think to be exact, to go try somewhere else. They've got some nice players. But yeah, I mean, you should be getting a good effort from St. Louis. And then you got the Chicago Blackhawks on Wednesday. I suppose if there's a team you want to see on the second half of a back-to-back night games, Chicago might be the team. maybe San Jose, maybe Buffalo, the lower seeds. But the Chicago Blackhawks obviously sent out Taylor Hall. We know what they are. They're going to be in a rebuild process for a couple of years. Their goal differential is minus 44. That is not very good. That is the second worst in the league behind only the minus 61 San Jose Sharks. They're 2-5-3 in their last 10. So, yeah, when I take a look at it, like the expectations, I would say, should be pretty high for this one. And then you have a chance to, hit the break on a bit of a high note. Chicago Blackhawks are not playing tonight. So the Blackhawks and I think the Nashville Predators might be the only two teams not in action this evening. Why does the NHL put one game on a Monday and then 14 games the next night? With all due respect to the Sens and Preds, and hey, shout out to the Sens, big win in Nashville. Scored 3 goals, I think, in the third period. Nice win. Give us a little more option, not just the one game. Mighty Cobra, funny text. Can't read that word on air. The Wolf of Bleep Town. Wanye, you'd like that one. 17th Ave is the Red Mile. Okay. The Wolf of 17th Ave. Stephen Ave. We need a street.
It's got to be street.
Do we have a street in Edmonton? Jasper Ave, White Ave, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier Trail.
We have numbered streets.
Yeah, not too many blank streets.
No.
118th Street. Well, the 118th Ave is it's more notorious as an avenue, is it not?
Don't come around there unless you're prepared to do business. You know what I'm saying, LP?
LP?
Smooth?
LP Smooth. Oh, yeah. You'll see Liam kicking it on 118.
Oh, yeah.
Late at night.
Handling his biz.
Someone's got to. The text line, 1-833-401-1440. Stare Farmer. Good afternoon, boys. Or evening. Great show. Predictions for tonight's game. Go Oilers, go. Declan, I don't want to step on any toes. Are we doing this in 5 questions?
We might be doing this in 5 questions.
Oilers win. But we'll elaborate in 5 questions. I don't want to step on Declan's.
The day I say a team other than the Oilers are going to win an Oilers game. Frosty. And today is cold. And it ain't today.
It was funny. I used to work on a show. You're familiar with the Oiler Nation After Dark program. And we would always do our predictions for the next game. And every show, whoever was on it, Oilers win 5-2. Like it was always Oilers win. So I feel like that's probably the way we're going to go tonight. One of these days I probably need to, reevaluate and give an honest opinion. Maybe they're going to lose, but it probably won't be today.
I don't see, and this is a blessing of being alive in 2025. I don't see that many teams in the NHL that I don't think the Oil can beat. Wasn't like in the DOD where they come in, you're like, well, we're in big trouble, big trouble. I fear nobody in this league on paper. Do you?
There's teams you play. I think there's individuals. It's like, oh, look out. When Nathan McKinnon's picking up the puck around center ice, full head of steam, like, oh, man, get back. But no, I think the Oilers, on paper, they should be striking fear into the opposing teams with the likes of McDavid and Draisaitl. So, no, I wouldn't say there's a team they should fear. They don't get bullied. I think they can elevate their game. I just got a text here very quickly. 184th Street heading eastbound. A car has gone over the guardrail. And they're trying to recover. Traffic's really backed up. 184th Street heading north. This is going onto the exit of the Yellowhead.
Speaking of traffic, there's an enormous amount of cars smashed up in the city right now. Like driving around town, you see people like high centered, people who slid off the road. I've probably seen, no exaggeration, 4 or 5 accidents in the last 2 days.
It's messy. It's messy.
It's wild.
Sarah says the Wolf of 124th Street.
Yeah.
The Wolf of Center Street. That one might be a little bit better.
What did McCarthy call us? Dancing bears?
Yeah. Well, if you just...
What did he call me? A dancing bear?
If you hate Calgary and that's all you say.
Yeah, exactly.
An entertainer, essentially.
Wow.
Another text coming in. Northside Adam says, Street Albert Trail, a.k.a. St. Albert Trail. Worked with a guy who that's what the ST stood for. Old Street Albert Trail. I'm familiar with that one. That's a nice neck of the woods. Well, Lonnie, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by a man who played in the NHL, also one half of the Cam and Strick podcast, Cam Jansson. Talk some St. Louis Blues, get a little more familiar with the opposition tonight. Also, Struddy will join us in 5 questions to wrap up the hour. But right now, a Sports 1440 update with Declan Kruger, brought to you by Fountain Tire. Get where you need to go this winter with a mid-winter tire clearance sale at Fountain Tire. Save up to 20% off all in-stock winter tires, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings. Complete details at fountaintire.com.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, 14 games tonight in the NHL. It all gets going with 5 games at 5 p.m., including the Wild and Bruins, Blue Jackets, and Sabres and Senators at Lightning. Edmonton Oilers, of course, in action as they will be in St. Louis taking on the Blues. A 6 p.m. puck drop for that one. Stuart Skinner in the starter's net. 7 games tonight in the NBA, including the Toronto Raptors. They're in action at 5:30, playing host to the New York Knicks. And news around the sporting world: Stars defenseman Miro Heiskanen underwent knee surgery today and is considered to be out month to month, according to head coach Peter DeBoer. Argos have re-signed quarterback Nick Arbuckle. The team announced today Arbuckle, who was the 111th Grey Cup MOP after helping the Argos to a 41-24 victory over the Bombers in November. Alphonso Davies, Edmonton's own, has re-signed with Bayern Munich and ending a lengthy romance with other big-name European clubs. The new deal for Fonzie, will run through June 30th, 2030. And the Dallas Mavericks are offering refunds for their remaining home games this season to fans who have canceled their season ticket plans. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
1440.
Back. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, also streaming on Oilers Nation Facebook, YouTube, and X. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, and Liam Peace with you here today. The Jason Gregor Show is brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Gregor will be back tomorrow, returning from his vacation. It is game day. The Oilers on the road in St. Louis, taking on the Blues tonight. We're about 2 hours away from puck drop. Coming up at 5 o'clock, we've got pregame coverage then with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson. Also, we are going to try to connect with Terry Ryan. He might join us in the next segment. Had something come up. It's his mom's birthday today, actually. So he was out with her. So we might squeeze him in the next couple of segments here. Totally his call. Find out next when we get Struddy on. And maybe for 5 questions. Right now, though, we'll get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by Silent Rides Charter Company. Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches safely taking your team or group to their next destination. Visit silentrides.ca for more information. As we head out to St. Louis, joined by former NHLer Cam Jansson, 336 games in the NHL, 774 PIMs. Also now you can hear him on the Cam and Strick podcast. Cam, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
What's up, Connor? What, Terry ghost you or what?
He did. He totally did. I feel bad because I'm sure you were fired up to talk to him, and then I think he took his mom out for dinner and a movie for her birthday. And how can I be mad at that?
Oh, no. Well, he's probably lying to you. Tell him I said hi, though, man. I'm a big fan of his.
Do you have any stories with TR going back to your time together?
No, never crossed paths with him. No, I wish I did, but I listen to all the other stories, and even if we don't really directly know each other, you know how the hockey world's very small, and you connect on social media, and he listens to my stuff, I listen to his stuff, and whatnot. But I'm sure there's going to be some sort of alumni event somewhere where we'll all be there, and then I'll have some stories because I'll probably stay out to the wee hours of the morning with him.
Yeah, which I know he's been known to do. So let me ask you this: I think it was last week on your podcast there was a talk about Mikko Rantanen, and it was thrown out there that, hey, who knows? Maybe the Edmonton Oilers could be involved. And I think it was Andy Strickland who might have said that. Can you confirm that report?
Oh, well, that was definitely Andy. I don't have the inside scoop of that by any means, but anytime he does say something, which it is, it's pretty ballsy to be able to just throw that out there. And he was pretty direct about it. So that tells me that he's talking to a lot of people. So just what the Edmonton Oilers need, another monster in their lineup. Oh my word. That
hit our text line. We had people sending us the link. You guys got to hear this. Is it possible? I'm saying, hey, it would be cool if it was. That'd be awesome. The Oilers in St. Louis tonight, taking on the Blues. The Blues had a bit of a tough skid there. Nice performance to beat the Utah Hockey Club. Jordan Binnington was fantastic in that victory. What have you seen from this Blues team as of late?
Well, as of late, a lot of ups and downs, man. Not very consistent. They had a great game in Utah. Utah had our number for a while there. Every time Clayton Keller comes back home to St. Louis, he usually dominates. But up in Utah, they had a good game. But the game before that against Colorado was it was a brutal game, and Colorado just from the get-go stomped on them, and they had no response whatsoever. So they got a lot of things that they need to work on as a whole with the group. I like their defense. They got an older core. If you look at the games played on in the lineup tonight, it's crazy how many games. I mean, pretty much almost all of them, besides Philip Broberg, who you know well, has almost 1,000 games, but they're all skating well. I don't know how Ryan Suter does it. He was playing 22 minutes at the beginning of the season as a 40-year-old. I don't know how he does that. But the Blues they got to figure some things out. I'll tell you this right now. They need to stay out of the box. They've been letting a lot of power play goals, and they certainly don't want to do that with the Edmonton Oilers and the firepower. But they got work to do, man. They're not as consistent up front at all. Jordan Kyrou's having a great year. The two most consistent players up front, in my opinion, are Jordan Kyrou and Dylan Holloway. And as far as the D are concerned, Colton Parayko's been a stud all year long. He didn't play a couple games ago because of the flu. The flu's going around, by the way. You know how it is in the hockey world, man. Like, once one guy gets it, you get on the plane, you travel for 3 hours, everybody's messed up, and they just go through that 12-hour cycle. So the Blues have their hands full tonight, but when they do play well and they play aggressive and smart, they could beat any team, just like any team could beat any team in the NHL. But again, tonight with the Edmonton Oilers, the first and foremost, boy, you better win some faceoffs and hold on to that puck. And two, you got to stay out of the penalty box.
Yeah, for the Edmonton Oilers, Matthias Ekholm missed Saturday's game with the flu. He was back on the ice. So going through both teams should be a factor, I'm sure. You mentioned a couple former Oilers there. Let's start with Dylan Holloway. What has he brought to that St. Louis Blues forward group?
Consistency every single night. He is so consistent. I mean, every single shift he does something. I don't know, like, you know how it is. Like, I notice him. So even if you don't look at the numbers and you crunch the numbers and you look at this, you look at that, I watch that kid. And he does something every single shift. He hits. He had like 9 hits the other night. He's got a great shot. He's really quick. He spins off of guys and gets a step on them. He holds the puck in the offensive zone. He gets back and breaks up plays. He is a hell of a hockey player. He's one of the most consistent guys on the team, like I said. So, and you know, he took a licking the other day by a guy. I think it was Josh Manson. Oh gosh, Josh Manson came up and just caught him open ice like he likes to do. Dylan Holloway just pops right back up, goes in, makes a play. And does his thing. So he has been great. I know they're very, very happy with him and just a good kid overall.
And how about Philip Broberg? I know last month just 1 assist, but, you know, take away the offensive things, defensive. He's playing 20 minutes a night for the St. Louis Blues. How has he looked throughout the season?
I think he's been great as well. And especially at the beginning, you know, he had that run where he's getting a point. I think he had 8 or 9 games where he had a point. You know, you'll watch him and sometimes you don't notice him, but as a defenseman, that's good. Because when you notice a defenseman, usually they're getting walked or they're getting, you know, they're going to toe drag or they're getting hit or whatever the case is. But you'll see him and you don't notice how quick he is until he gets the puck and he burns around a defenseman and he takes the puck right to the net. He tries to sneak it high through that blocker side, that short side. He's got some skill. He's very poised, very mature for a young kid. Quiet kid, by the way, real quiet, but he's going to be a hell of a hockey player, and he's playing great hockey now. But I do think he's still maybe a little banged up. You know, he doesn't have that extra step like he used to at the beginning of the year. I know he took a hit and hurt himself. He had a lower body injury. I believe it was in his ankle. I don't know if he's still 100%. You know how it's such a grind, man. You're playing every other night. You're traveling, especially with the travel that the Blues had in December. Oh my gosh, I felt like we were out of town. We had like 2 10-day road trips. I was on the trip with the guys doing radio, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not even playing. I'm like, I forgot how much of a grind this is. And I'm just doing radio, which is nothing. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at these guys, they're all like walking around. I'm like, holy cow, I'm gassed. So they had such a tough December. Things are slowing down now. But as a whole, man, I tell you what, the Blues need to figure some things out because Calgary's not messing around. And they got some points to catch up, especially with Calgary.
Yeah, Cam Jansson joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show, former NHLer, part of the Cam and Strick podcast, talking St. Louis Blues as they host the Edmonton Oilers puck drop about hour, 50 minutes away down in St. Louis. I want to ask you about Cam Fowler. Came over from the Ducks mid-February. I think immediately slotted into that top pairing with Colton Parayko. How have they looked together?
Great. Cam Fowler's a big guy, smooth, very, very good skill. You know, like, I didn't really watch him too much. You know, Anaheim, he went through weird phases with Anaheim. I know when he first got there, I believe he still had Getzlab and Perry, and they're doing their thing. And then all of a sudden they were terrible. And so his numbers were skewed a bit. He was getting a lot of ice time. Their defense was not great. You know, their team as a whole wasn't good. So you look at his numbers like, well, he's not good at this, he's not good at that. But now he plays with the Blues, and he's, you know, alongside Colton Parayko, who's an absolute horse. You really see his true talent come out, and the way he skates, and again, the poise, and he does the breakout passes. Like, as a forward, you love playing with guys like that, man. Like, you know that the puck's going to be right on your tape. And for a guy like me on the wall, I need that, okay? Like, I don't put it in my skates, and now I have to make a skilled play because I'm probably not going to get the puck out. This guy puts it on your stick every single time. He's still skating extremely well, and he complements Colton Parayko well. And, you know, I like those two. I like the pairing. They're going to get a lot of ice time tonight. You know, he's getting a little bit older. You know, he's been banged up in his career here and there, but boy, oh boy, what a great acquisition that Doug Armstrong did, getting him and be able to log and eat some minutes. So he's doing a really good job of that.
Yeah, and got to be reinvigorated going from that Anaheim team to St. Louis, where you are still in that playoff push. I got to think that's got to help him out as well. Just wanted to ask you about Jordan Binnington, assuming he's going to get this start tonight. A record of 14-19-3 on the season, an .898 save percentage, .283 goals against average. But as we mentioned against Utah over the weekend, 24 saves on 25 shots. He was fantastic. There's still got to be that belief that on any given night, you're going to get a classic Binnington performance.
Yeah, you are. From both goalies, actually. Joe Hofer's
Mhm.
playing pretty good hockey. You know, he's had some ups and downs, and usually when the team plays bad in front of them, they play really bad, and all of a sudden, again, numbers get skewed and stuff like that. And they've had some bad performances. Don't get me wrong, but boy, oh boy, when Jordan Binnington's on, he is hard to beat. Like he is. He's a Stanley Cup champion. He is a Stanley Cup champion, and you can never take that away. Like that's always in his mindset. He's a very spiritual guy. If you ever talk to him, he is the nicest guy in the world. I know his antics on the ice. I know he gets chirped from people all over the place because of what he does when he gets mad. He does this and that. He's such a good guy, and he's such a great goalie. And when he wants to stand on his head, he will shut you down. And he's certainly going to have to do that tonight with the firepower that he's going to be facing. But Jordan Binnington, man, that's why they selected him. You know, for the Four Nations, he could win a game anytime he wants to. Put it that way.
Now, you have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid playing on the top line for the Oilers. Just the seventh time they've started them to start the game. Corey Perry will ride shotgun. Who do you think gets the matchup to try to slow them down amongst the Blues forwards?
I'm sure it's going to be the Robert Thomas, Pavel Buchnevich, Jordan Kyrou line. Now, that could change. They could put the Holloway line against them as well, maybe Brayden Schenn or whatever the line combinations are. But if that's going to be the top line tonight, which I think it is, I'm sure they're going to be seeing a lot of that. And that means Robert Thomas has to win a lot of draws. You know, the best way to shut down that powerhouse of a first line is to hold on to the puck and win draws. So they're going to have their hands full, but Robert Thomas is a really, really good two-way player. Jordan Kyrou is a lot better at that. You know, he went through a time where Craig Berube was on him, and now Jim Montgomery is teaching him how to play defense, because the better you are at defense, the more offense you're going to create. When it's easy to break the puck out because you're in the right spot as a forward, the more offensive chances you're going to get because you're going to have the puck. It's going to be an easy breakout, and now you have time to shine with your skill. Jordan Kyrou's got a great shot, man. He could score. He could score from basically anywhere. He's quick. He's fast. And now he's doing the little things to get back. And Pavel Buchnevich, now he needs to step it up a little bit. He does. I don't know if he's a little bit banged up. You know, he has been here and there, but he's got to find a way to put the puck in the net. But again, he's very good defensively as well. So I'm sure that's going to be the lineup that they're going to be going against.
Cam, just one more for you, and I want to ask you as a former player, what are your thoughts on the Four Nation face-off coming up here next week?
Oh, dude. Okay. You want to be honest?
Yes.
Look, I'm going to watch every second of it. I'm going to watch every second of it. Now, is it going to get that much hype? Not really. I'm curious to see how this all plans out, but you're missing out on a lot of good players, man. Just having four teams. I get the political side of things. I get all that. But boy, oh boy, not seeing Draisaitl, not seeing, you know, all these Russians, not seeing, Czechia. I mean, you're missing out on a lot of really, really good players who are like, God, some of the other teams were involved, maybe just Czechia and Russia. Then I think there'd be a little bit more, you know, USA versus Russia, you know, Canada versus USA. There's a lot of drama going on that you can really emphasize and pump up. So that to me is a little bit of a shame, but I get it. So I'm going to watch every second of it. I just hope other people, it's not me you're trying to, you know, you're trying to motivate to watch this tournament. It's everybody else. Like, we're going to watch it no matter what because we love hockey and we have to for our job. But hopefully everybody else is on board. But I think once you see the best players going, you see Crosby and McDavid on the same line or whatever the case is, yeah, you're going to be locked in and tuned in. But as far as, people talking about the buildup, I don't see much of it. But we shall see in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll find out, I guess, the intensity level once it all gets going. Cam, thanks so much for doing this today. Really appreciate it. Enjoy tonight's game.
Anytime, guys. See you later.
There you go. Cam Jansson, former NHLer, co-host of the Cam and Strick podcast. The guy who I was going to ask him, like, if you were in Buffalo when Tage Thompson takes that hit, what happens? I think I know the answer.
Night.
What do they say? I always mess up the saying. There's going to be two hits or two thuds.
I hit you, you hit the ice.
I hit you, you hit the ice, yeah.
I hit you, you hit the waiver wire.
Maybe that. Can't be doing it. Hitting superstars like that.
No.
Tage Thompson, 6'6". Jansson would have been in there.
Tage Thompson's nobody to mess around with.
No. 1-833-401-1440. We're going to keep the Oilers conversation going because coming up next, Jason Strudwick joins us. Struddy, one of the best guys in the biz on and off the ice. That's coming up next on the Jason Gregor Show. Halley, Wanye, Declan Kruger, Liam Pease with you here at the Gregor Show, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90
They're the most diversified electrical contractor in Alberta with 4 divisions in projects, service, tag, and solar for commercial or residential. Contact them today at actionelectrical.net. Jason Strudwick, former NHLer and co-host of Got Your Back, joins us. Struddy, how you doing today?
Doing good. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. You're out on the road right now?
Just cruising around, picking kids up from some activities. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. How are the roads? We've got some reports that it's kind of a mess out there.
Yeah, a little icy. I'd say coming into any stops, just stop about a block early and you should be okay.
Good advice. Good advice. The Edmonton Oilers on the road tonight, but let's go back to Saturday, Struddy. Not the ideal start. You're without Matthias Ekholm, obviously a big contributor on the penalty kill. You allow a couple goals on the PK. Heading into the second period, you're down 3 goals already. Tough to come back from that one. And, Oilers gave it a valiant effort. But I just want to ask you, could you handle a Maple Leafs Oilers Stanley Cup final if it were to happen?
Could the country handle that? I have a hard time seeing that happening. That game, you had the Leafs, they'd scored 1 goal per game for 3 games. They were in a 3-game losing streak. It was a huge night, Saturday night against Oilers, a team that went to the final. They got some healthy bodies back, like Matthew Nyes, and then that. They came off with a really good effort. And your point about Matthias Ekholm was really well made. Like, they really missed him on the penalty kill. There's a couple key details missed that led to, power play goals against. So instead of being 1-0, you're down 3-0 against a pretty motivated and pretty good team in the East. So it's just a little bit too far to come back from. So when they scored that goal early in the third, it's like, hey, that's about it. And Oilers push back, but there's just sometimes it's a bridge too far.
There's talk, obviously Matthias Ekholm had the flu, and that's kind of going through the room. Maybe some other players dealing with it. We just had Cam Jansson on the show talking about the St. Louis Blues. Apparently it is happening. You played in the NHL for a long time. Is that just something that teams accept like 1 or 2 times a year? It's going to happen, and you just got to find a way to gut it out?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately, everyone gets sick. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you do, where you live. So I remember when someone would, let's say it'd be whatever, I'd come to the rink sick, they'd be like, take this and go home. Do not come back. Like, because it's bad enough that it's one, they don't want it spreading through the room. What's hard is when you're on the road, because now it's more intimate, right? You're having meals together. You're sharing rooms, at that point. Now the guys don't, but you're on airplanes together. So I think I always thought it was easier to manage when you're at home because you could just leave the guy at home. You wouldn't come into practice. So it's hard, and you just want to try to avoid it going through everybody as much as possible.
Jason Strudwick, former NHLer, joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz sitting in. What have you made of the, and albeit it's only been a couple games here for John Klingberg, but what have you made of his play coming back from the hip surgery?
Well, if this is the starting point, I think that's a pretty damn good place to launch from. Not playing for that long is difficult. I think his puck play's been good. He comes as advertised, knows that remember him watching him play, was good at the puck, making plays. He doesn't seem to get too rattled with the puck on his stick, but it's to play away from the puck that's the hardest thing to add for a guy like him. Just get the timing back of gapping up, being physical, anticipating where players are going, your angles, all that stuff. So, unfortunately for him, he's probably the one guy in the league that doesn't want this Four Nations Cup to happen. He wants to keep playing. So I'll be interested to see what his plan is. Does he, stick around Edmonton and practice? Does he go back and practice wherever he was practicing before? Because, he doesn't need that, whatever it is, 8 to 10 days off. He needs to keep playing, or at least practicing or at worst. So, yeah, I'm really been impressed with where he started from. And I think that if he can continue to build from here, there might be a solution to one of the Oilers' issues right there.
One of the most polarizing names right now on our text line has been Stuart Skinner. Some people saying that they think the Oilers should look to add elsewhere, and I don't really know what it would be if it would push Calvin Pickard out of the picture or what it might be. But I just want to ask you, Struddy, former NHLer, you've been there. What do you think of the play of Stuart Skinner?
Well, I think he had a tough start, and it's always hard to change people's thoughts of you when you have a tough start on the year. Since November, he's been solid, but he has off nights. There's no doubt about it. But I think people have to understand, Stuart Skinner is not one of the top 5 goalies in the NHL. You want that. I understand people want him to be that, But he isn't that. I think he's an average, just above average goalie. He's paid as such. You know, he wasn't even supposed to be the starting goalie right now, and yet here he is because of the struggles of the guy they signed before. So he's in this position. But look around the NHL. Which goalie could you trade for has as much NHL playoff experience as he does? Just tell me the guy. Tell me the guy, and then figure out the acquisition cost. Because are you sure it's going to be that much better than Stu Skinner? I have no problem with Stu Skinner. Is he going to have some tough games? Yes, there's no doubt he will. But I believe that for the most part in the playoffs last year, he was really good. He stared down Jay Gottinger, one of the top goalies in the Western Conference, and he beat him in a series. I mean, so who's above Jay Gottinger? Go around and tell me the guy. And I see it. We get it in our chat all the time, our podcast. Got to get rid of Stu Skinner. Okay, all right, I get it. Show me the name. Show me the acquisition cost. And is it that much better? Proven better. Don't tell me you think he's better. Show me he's better, and you know he'll be better. Stu Skinner will be fine.
I love it, Struddy. That's what our listeners needed to hear from you and not from me. Jason Strudwick, former NHLer, joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz with you. Now, the Edmonton Oilers tonight in St. Louis taking on the Blues, a couple of familiar foes with Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. Got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl going to play on the seventh line. I believe only the seventh time this season they've started on the top line together. What do you think of that decision going into St. Louis?
Well, I mean, I like them when they're apart. I've been very clear with that. But, you know, they want to have a different look. And when they are together, I think that they're monsters. And maybe they're thinking tonight, looking at the St. Louis Blues team, this is an opportunity for these guys to have a monster night. You know, they can each cash out the end of the night with 3 or 4 points against the Blues. And maybe that's what they're thinking. We're going to overpower them. You know, one of the challenges that my buddy Rob Brown's talked about a lot is that guys like Paul Colton and Arvidsson, who's been line mates for Draisaitl, although they've, you know, maybe not as much recently, but when they're together, most of the time they've been tilting the ice. Unfortunately, that hasn't resulted in a lot of goals. So maybe they're looking for that with Leon and Connor just overpowering tonight, get the 2 points, and get on to your next game in Chicago tomorrow night, which should be, you know, hopefully another 2 points if they can string 2 games together.
We had a text come in from Darcy in your direction, say, hey guys, we all know Strudwick talks a lot about drafting and maturing players. Can you ask him what he thought about the Oilers not matching either Broberg or Holloway? And I'll just throw in, I guess, with hindsight, looking at the salary cap going up, Struddy, it doesn't make it look any better.
No, I mean, it's obviously now I could look like a genius. Say, wow, they should have done it. But, you know, at the time, I thought Broberg's was too high, and he's played well. But, you know, the Holloway I was kind of on the fence with. Again, you're worried about the salary cap, and now it looks like the NHL salary cap is really taking off. So it's tough, and he's playing really well. He's big, he's fast, and he's scoring. He's exactly what not just the Oilers need, every team needs. So they got him. They took him away from the Oilers. So, yeah, that's a tough one. I will say this. It's funny. No one wants to say this, but, you know, there's a lot of heat on Ken Holland and his drafting when he was here. Maybe it's not quite as bad as people thought when you look at those two guys and how they've developed.
Yeah, I mean, geez, they'd look good in the Oilers uniform. I think Dylan Holloway especially, just kind of we had Cam Jansson just on. He said he's been nonstop, even if he's not putting up goals. Like he's there every single night doing good things. So what can you do? You can't change the past. The Oilers made their decision, and they'll spend the cap elsewhere and use the draft picks they received as well and try to rebuild or refill. Would you say refill the shelf, Struddy? That's kind of a line you used to say.
Yeah, and I believe in that. And listen, I know you didn't answer this question, but, you know, we're going to assume that Connor McDavid resigns. So they'll have 9 years of Connor. So you can't just empty everything out and have nothing for the last number of years. You need to restock those shelves. You keep adding. So, and I hope that they can go out and maybe find some diamonds in the rough through college free agents or European free agents or later draft picks, because they need players to come in. So I know people are like, we got to go all in. We got to go all in. Well, are you going to say that in year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 when there's nothing left to go all in with? So you got to kind of manage the future by still trying to go all in the right now in the present. And I know people hate me for saying that, but the reason they don't like it, Connor, they know I'm right. They know that I'm right. So you have to somehow find that balance. Because you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins where they're at right now, nothing. They have nothing. But they do have multiple Stanley Cups in their pockets. As of this moment right now, the Oilers don't. And they don't have a lot of draft picks and or prospects in the cupboards.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back to those early Penguins teams, Struddy, go to the Chicago Blackhawks, the LA Kings. You know, they were paying their top end guys, and you had players that you had developed that were, when called upon, ready to jump right in. Like the one that Jake Genslow is the one that stands out to me. As soon as he hit the NHL, he was ready to go. So I agree with you. You got to have guys that come in on low-paying contracts, and they've got to be able to contribute when called upon. Before we let you go here, we got the Super Bowl over the weekend. The Giants and no, not the Giants. Giants former running back Saquon Barkley with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, sorry, I'm a Chargers fan. We're in this together, Struddy, you and I at the bottom. But you got the Chiefs and the Eagles. Which way are you leaning in this one?
I'm leaning all Eagles because I want my good buddy Saquon Barkley to get in there. I think that he deserved it. He was drafted to a franchise that quality didn't have the players around him to support him, and he became a really good player. He would have stayed there. They let him walk, and he went to a team that could use him, and he's done incredible things there. He's an incredible human. If you don't know him, like, go watch the way he trains, the way he interacts with people, and I think he's going to have a monster day. I think those big legs are going to be just cranking out the yards, and I think the Eagles are going to win. And yeah, I'm a Giants fan, but I think you have to cheer for good people, and I loved Saquon when he was with the Giants, and now that he isn't, I still cheer for him.
I am right there with you. I'm all on board, and I actually think the Giants are. Why do I keep saying that? I do think the Eagles are actually going to win, Struddy. I could be crazy, and I could just be a Chiefs hater, but I'm rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. Struds, have a good night. We will talk to you next Tuesday.
What's with Wanye? Is he scared to ask questions, or what's going on?
No, I was enjoying the show. I was sitting back and letting the pros do their business. Old friends catching up on the air, you know?
Look at you. Don't be scared, buddy. I'm just like everybody else. I'm another normal guest.
Well, I did. If we're going to put guns to heads here on the air, I did have a question. I've been loving your work on the panel. I just beauty tips for the rest of us, Struddy. What do you credit your continued good looks to? And what can the rest of us insects do if we'd like to look like you?
Yeah, I have a real strict skin regimen every night. Just hand soap and a washcloth. Very strict every night. Take it right down to the nub every day.
Words to live by, Struddy. Thank you for leaving us with that. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, boys.
There you go. Jason Strudwick, former NHLer, joining us on the Jason Gregor Show as he does every Tuesday at about 4:20. Giving fashion, skincare, hockey advice. I don't know why I keep saying Giants. I maybe it's just habit with Struddy. That's all we usually talk about.
I have to admit, Connor, there's moments I'm very lucky to be on the show, but there's moments where, because I listen all the time, when you're talking or when Gregor's talking, I forget I'm here. And I'm just listening through the headphones as though I'm listening normally. And that happened there too. I was just listening to you guys talk, and I've heard you guys on the air. What show were you on together for what time period?
Struddy and I, we were on the Jason Strudwick show for a couple of years. Then he did TV. I continued to work on the night show with Dino. Then I hopped on the Gregor show, and Struddy was back there. So yeah, we've 4 or 5 years probably together.
You've got an easy, witty banter between you.
Yeah. We got to get him on more. We got to up his salary or something.
Struddy's so great.
Yeah, he is. We need more Struddy. I think everybody would agree. The text line confirms. Everybody wants more Struddy. Mighty Cobra says, who's starting in net tonight? It will be the Skin Man. What do they call him? Skin Daddy? Biddington? Do they call him that?
I don't know. Do they?
Well, we're going with it. Skin Daddy and Biddington. Biddington was confirmed. Skinner we're kind of just waiting on, but it looks like it's going to go that way. Lance texting in a question he had about which blue player isn't playing good. And I said, I forgot to ask that question. I also forgot to ask Cam Jansson about Saad. Fails.
Do the numbers work now that he's gone somewhere? Or was that an extremely costly decision?
Saad?
Yeah.
What numbers?
Where is he? I'm trying to remember.
He went to Vegas.
For what? How much?
Like 1.5 prorated, I believe.
Okay, so he did recover the portion of the season he'll play.
And then next year he'll get another contract.
Yeah.
Assuming he wants to play, yeah.
You really have to have belief in yourself to walk away from $5 million.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
3.5 if you've signed for 1.5, but still.
Granted, he has made $54 million in his career. Taxman takes its cut. Living's expensive, but yeah, I respect that he was willing to say, you know what, I want to win. I'm out.
And you might make 50 million, but you might have a snake farm.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what you're spending your money on the back end. You may want that 3.5 for the snakes.
The snakes, it's costly. We've dove into this.
Don't get into the snakes. Don't farm snakes. That's my advice to every athlete.
Day one. Ryan, the editor, says Skin Daddy and Spazzy B.
Nope. Not today, Satan.
Spazzy B. Yeah, Dry called him Skin Daddy when he was doing the lineup once. So I know I've heard it somewhere. Maybe it's not going to carry over too long, but Skin Daddy. Sick name.
What are some of your highlights of being on the air with Struddy? Because he's a quote factory.
Well, we were talking off air. Struddy talking about weed was very funny once. His stories about Cindy Crawford were always good with the moment they had.
They had a moment?
Yeah. He's Rita Perlman and Danny DeVito he's talked about.
Rewind back to the Cindy Crawford thing. What was that?
He just said they walked past each other and locked eyes and had a moment.
Really?
Per Struddy.
Like Struddy now, don't get me wrong. I credited his looks on the air and I mean that wholeheartedly, one man to another. But back in the day, long hair Struddy,
yeah.
Like I would give him a fighting chance with most hot babes on earth.
6'4",
yeah,
220
in the show.
It was apparently like a hotel lobby. Nothing happened. Struddy's very happy with his outstanding life showing but
no question. But
yeah, just a moment.
Just also, walking past Cindy Crawford is walking past Cindy Crawford.
You know how like on The Simpsons when Homer's talking to Grimy, and he's like, "You went to space," and Homer's like, "Oh, you haven't been?" Like that's Struddy. Like we were just talking one day. He's like, "Oh yeah, I have a coin. I opened the New York Stock Exchange once. Oh, when I was on the Rangers, we went to TRL and I was on TV with Carson Daly." Like he would just drop casual things like that. Like not in a bragging manner, just like, "Oh yeah, these are things I've done." And they weren't that big a deal to him. But to me, it was crazy.
And then the Niedermeyers are his cousins.
The Niedermeyers are his cousins.
And yeah. Rob Niedermeyer, I remember this in like junior high school, dated Nikki Taylor. Supermodel.
Oh.
If your cousin can date a supermodel like Nikki Taylor, your Riz points have increased.
Absolutely.
For being the same family tree as somebody who can wheel Nikki Taylor in the open market.
Stulo sent in the picture of Struddy, like long flowing hair, chiseled jaw.
Yeah. I know the photo. I go to sleep to it most nights.
I'm with you, Stulo. This guy was out there. PL says, "I don't think you're allowed to say Skin Daddy on air."
Yeah.
Well,
Struddy could be one of the best looking Edmontonians of all time, Connor. And it's not even hype. That's just facts.
To think the kids from Shep used to pick on him for carrying his trombone.
Who picked on him?
The Shep bullies.
They're lucky they didn't put the trombone down and start dusting some heads.
Very lucky. Very lucky.
Put everyone to sleep.
We'll take a break. When we come back, 5 questions, and we'll wrap it up. It's the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, Facebook, YouTube, and X, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
A bedtime story by
449, Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, Liam Peace with you here at the Stingray Studios in West Edmonton Mall. The Jason Gregor Show brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Let's get right into it. 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. You can shop like an insider with The Brick's family and friend sale right now. Save up to 25% off sofas, love seats, matching chairs, and sectionals at The Brick and TheBrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
Question number 1. Oilers game day. I got a score and a bold prediction.
6-2 Oil. Holloway fights the Nuge.
I like it. That'd be awesome. I'll take the Oilers to win by 2, cover the puck line. Let's say 5-2 with an empty netter and 2 power play goals from the Oilers.
Question number 2. Andy Reid said Tuesday, that's today, he would return for at least one more season as head coach of the Chiefs. Where does he rank in all-time coaches for you? And do you think he could do anything to reach GOAT status? Or what would he have to do to reach GOAT status is a better question.
I think he needs to rack up more regular season wins and keep it going. Maybe win another Super Bowl because Bill Belichick won so many. It's tough. I don't know if he'll ever get GOAT status, but my goodness, I got him right up there when it comes down to it, like top 3 to 5 all time.
I would think Belichick's won. And how many Super Bowls does he have? 6.
He has 6.
6, yeah.
Brady has 7.
It's going to take a lot of work to catch him. I would put him at 2nd.
Go ahead.
No.
Question number 3. The CFL moves concerning the Elks and just across the whole league have been nuts. What in your mind has been the biggest signing for any team so far, not just the Elks?
You know what? Why don't we have Kenny Lawler joining the Hamilton Tiger Cats?
My choice as well.
Getting a guy who can stretch the field. We saw how good he can be when targeted. You got to spend money, go get a guy like that. I think we knew that he was going to be leaving the green and gold. As documented here on the show, Ed Hervey, a history of maybe not paying for the top end receivers or giving them the big money. So I'll go Lawler joining the Ticats.
That's what I was going to say too.
Or maybe Gino going to Ottawa. Sorry, one of the 2.
Question number 4. What will the conference finals look like in the NHL this year?
Oilers and Jets.
And
Hurricanes and Capitals.
I really like that. I don't want to steal yours specifically.
I stole your CFL thing and said Kenny Lofton was the signing of the summer.
Kenny Lofton.
Yep.
You know what? Let's go Oilers and I don't know, Avalanche. And on the flip side, I think the Panthers will run it back and the Hurricanes.
And question number 5. On this day in 1977, Rumors by Fleetwood Mac was released. What is the best album of all time?
The best album of all time, Declan, is actually a single recently released by the Ball Brothers Records, Tweaker by the Angelo Ball. That's the greatest album of all time. Better than Rumors.
Declan, you go ahead here.
I'm going to say I got 2. Either Illmatic by Nas or The Joshua Tree by U2. Or Highway 61 Revisited by Dylan. One of those 3. Or Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. One of those 4. Wow. One of those 4, for sure.
It's funny you say Illmatic because I went houseboating once and one of my buddies bought an iPod from some guy at a mall, like a Facebook marketplace sale. And I would just go up in the morning, plug that bad boy in, listen to Illmatic. I was like, this is so good. So I have that one listed pretty high. Can I like Thriller?
I was just going to say, I'd like to remove my joke answer because no one's ever asked me my favorite album before. It has to be Thriller.
Like Thriller's high up there.
Thriller's so crazy, man. Like when you think about, my dad told me a story one time that when Thriller came out, this is in Edmonton, he was downtown and he could just hear cars playing it, driving around. Like people were just so excited to hear it. It was just like in the air.
Yeah. Well, like that's taking what, the personal from the music. Unbelievable album. I really liked, and some people might say a different album by this particular person, but I really enjoyed Jay-Z's Black album, top to bottom. Good one. Jimi Hendrix has some good ones. Like that's too tough of a question. That's a Mount Rushmore, I think, because we got to be able to have a couple options to lean on.
Yeah, that's the one time I didn't do Mount Rushmore. Dang.
And then I call you out on it. That's going to do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. We got pregame coverage coming up next with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson. If you missed the show, go check out the podcast. Spec, Jerry Ryan, unfortunately couldn't join us. He'll be back on Thursday. We got Dave McCarthy, Cam Jansson, Struddy. Check it out. Google, Spotify, jasongregor.com. Gregor is back tomorrow. Have no fear. Gregor will be in the chair tomorrow to recap tonight's Oilers and Blues game. For Wanye, Declan, and Liam, I'm Connor Halley. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the pregame show. They do postgame show as well. We're going to get to a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. Booster Juice is giving out 2 free drinks this February. 2 names will be called each day on their social media and Booster Rewards app. If your name is called, you get a free smoothie, fresh juice, or Boosters mixer. Follow them on social media and download the Booster Rewards app and get your free drink today. Today's names, Michael and Amir. Here's Declan with an update.
This is the Sports.
And one last time from me, your Sports 1440 update. 14 games tonight in the NHL. It all gets going with the Bruins and Wild and a plethora of other games at 5 p.m. Edmonton Oilers, of course, in action at 6 out in St. Louis. Stuart Skinner getting the start in that one. 7 games today in the NBA. It all gets going with the Mavericks and Philadelphia 76ers at 5. Toronto Raptors also in action, playing host to the New York Knicks at 5:30. The line for that one currently, the Knicks at -5.5, with the over-under set at 228.5. Stars defenseman Miro Heiskanen underwent knee surgery today and is considered to be out month to month. The Argos have re-signed quarterback Nick Arbuckle, and Alphonso Davies has re-signed with Bayern Munich. That's going to do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Up next is the pregame show with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.